Let's continue the build-up then to Newcastle versus Arsenal in the Premier League. Match of the day tonight, 10:30, BBC One, is Gabby Logan, Ellen White and Joe Hart, who's with us now. Afternoon, Joe.
Good afternoon, guys. You all right?
Yeah, really good, thank you. We've just been talking Gordon and Voltemada. Let's bring you straight in on Eberechi Eze. He is playing what I guess you'd call the Martin Ødegaard role on the right-hand side of midfield. Is he the kind of player who, just get him on the ball, as long as he's in an attacking position, he's going to shine?
I think so. I think that's what they've brought him in for, haven't they? You know, he's had a little bit of time to bed himself in, earn the trust of his players, earn the trust of his manager, and it's about going out there and expressing himself. When he was at his best for Crystal Palace, that was what he was doing. The game was running through him. Really exciting opportunity. What a big game. Big hype around this. Newcastle away is always a fun game to play in, and I'm sure he'll be ready for it.
Now, interesting you've just described it as fun, because our guests earlier, Tim Krul and Connor Cody, were both saying that at times they found St James's Park quite suffocating. So as an opposition player, does it partially depend on your personality, a little bit like the Europeans at the Ryder Cup in America, as to how you feel about a bouncing St James's?
Oh yeah, but you've got to live for it. You've got to live for it. How can you not? You're watching what's going on at Bethpage Black. You know, some of it's overstepped the line. Of course it has, but that can happen in football. Of course it can. You can raise your eyebrows and think that's probably gone a bit far. But that atmosphere, that absolute anticipation, that love, that passion, that's what you play football for. That 4:30 kick-off this afternoon is everything that you want to be doing as a Premier League footballer.
Pat, it's always been like that, St James's, hasn't it?
Yes. I felt a wee bit closer in days gone by as well. But Joe's right. I mean, classically, Joe will know Celtic Park, right? Celtic Park in a European night. I can remember watching teams like Barcelona come in and thinking, this is brilliant. The best teams in the world and the best players in the world. And they would go, yeah, this is what we want. I know, yeah, it's massively intimidating. But if you're a good player and a top player, and if you've got the right psychology, which you should have, you love it. You absolutely love it. And I suspect if you're Eze and Saka and Rice, you're walking on here with a big cheesy grin on your face, looking forward to every second of it.
What about the goalkeepers then, Joe? It'd be pointless having you on and not having a good chat about at least one of them. We had a really interesting discussion with you about David Raya the other week. So on Nick Pope, it's interesting, isn't it? Because here's a guy who at one point was really challenging Jordan Pickford for England #1, kind of slipped down the pecking order there. Now he's got Aaron Ramsdale for competition at Newcastle. He's obviously a very, very good goalkeeper. Is it only injury really that's kind of seen him drop away from the very top when it comes to international football?
Nick Pope is a rock solid goalkeeper.
Yeah.
I absolutely love Pope. He's definitely from my era. He makes big saves. He makes his defence feel comfortable when their backs are against the wall. Look, no one's perfect, and Nick would be the first one to tell you, is he as comfortable as a modern day goalkeeper with his feet? Absolutely, he isn't. But that's why Newcastle identified that, and when they play their best, they were a little bit more cautious in how they build up. But it'd be stupid to play to his weaknesses. You play to his strengths. You defend well. You defend deep. He stands big. He stands strong. I see him make foot saves like no one else. Stands there with that huge frame and says to people, "Beat me." And look, if he can last the test of time, that goalkeeper's coming back in, so he might be fashionable soon.
Well, long throws are back. It's all coming back.
Exactly.
Just on that idea around saves with your feet, what is it about? So I watch Nick Pope and I would just go, oh, there's a good save with his feet there.
Yeah.
What is it that you're actually looking out for which makes him better than others, if you like?
It's the balance. So Popey knows what his strengths are, right? He's 6'6", he's a huge frame, he's strong. But you can find that bigger goalkeepers can get caught standing low and want to use their hands and making themselves a small goalkeeper. Nick Pope needs to stand his frame. He stands big, he stands balanced, and he's aware that anything low, he's got that reach with both his feet as well. He'll always look to save with his hands if he needs to, but if he doesn't, because his balance is so good and he's so forward, he meets the ball. It doesn't often slice off his foot into the net. If your weight's slightly back on yourself and you're not a confident goalkeeper, that's where the foot save can be dangerous. But the likes of Nick Pope, David De Gea did it so well. His balance was always forward, going to meet the ball. That's why he's got his qualities, and he stands there and he's so hard to beat because he knows that he can stand tall, so it's very hard to beat him high with his reach and his dive. And obviously when you think of big goalkeepers, strikers will tell you go hard and low, but he's able to cover that as well.
God, it's amazing to think when you list all those qualities, that the decision that's going to be made for the World Cup next year, Nick Pope could have a really good season and still not go. That's the level of competition.
That is the level of competition. Not being in an England squad is not a slight on your ability.
No.
It's the Premier League's an absolute level. You need to be right up there to even be playing in it, let alone representing your country. And look, Nick Pope is like I say, he's a rock solid keeper. He very, very rarely lets you down, and he'll certainly be in the thinking. But does that make him a bad goalkeeper if he doesn't go with England? Absolutely not. But if he does, you know what? Of all of them, he'll have earned it.
Always really interesting to have you on, Joe. Thank you very much. Have a good one later, yeah?
You're welcome, guys. Cheers.
Top man. Joe Hart, Match of the Day, 10:30, BBC One with Ellen White and Gabby Logan, Mike Maine and Pat Nevin inside a bubbling St James's Park. That was fascinating, Pat, wasn't it?
Yeah, I always love listening to goalkeepers talking about goalkeeping, because they do think about it in a completely different way from everyone else. You're talking about that feet thing. The amount of strikers, or anyone, if you turn and you get within, like, if you're 8 yards out and you've got no time, you're being tackled, you very, very rarely dink it or chip it. Most players keep it low, hard, because the keepers cannot move their feet quick enough because their balance isn't right quick enough. So sometimes you go through the legs or just go past them. If you lift it at all, they've got that massive wingspan that they're going to get their hands to, and you can move your hands quicker. If you're a goalkeeper, then you can move your feet. However, the word he said there was balance. If you're balanced correctly and you're out at the right, then you can move your feet. So it's that whole technical side when you listen to goalkeepers and top goalkeepers, you do learn a lot. And also, you learn the weaknesses. Just one word about Pope, just before we finish.
Yeah.
He came out first, and they spent the first 15 minutes lumping balls into him with people charging into him. Guess what they're waiting for today?
Yeah.
Corner kicks and long throw-ins. So, yeah, even though he's tall, as Joe was saying there, that is going to be a massive thing against, dare I say, Arsenal's Arsenal.
Yeah. Well, one of the players who'll be right in the heart of the 6-yard box if those long throws start raining in from Calafiori is Victor Gyökeres. It feels, Mike, like a big game for him for the very reason that the criticism has been, is he a big game player? Is he a flat track bully? Well, there's one way to answer that.
Yeah, go and score today. It's as simple as that. He's got his hat-trick in the Premier League earlier this season. In that big win over Leeds, wasn't it? £64 million signing, came in the summer. It reminds me very much of the critique that was levelled around, or has been levelled around, Erling Haaland, in that, fine, it's okay scoring your hat-tricks against your lower half Premier League opposition, but in the games that matter, where are those people that are going to get your goals? Can they do it? And Victor Gyökeres has that for now. His advantage is that argument's been levelled at Erling Haaland for 2 or 3 seasons. This is game number 6 in the Premier League for Victor Gyökeres. Does it today? I think he rapidly quietens down that argument for some time to come. But yeah, pressure on him, pressure at the other end on Nick Voltemada. The pair of them, similar in stature, similar in terms of what people generically say about them. You know, that the big striker in the 6-yard box. What both managers have said about their respective strikers is they're a little bit more than that. So maybe we might try and see if we can see that today as well.
Yeah, that's a good point, Pat, because they're actually they might be stature-wise not dissimilar, but they're very different centre forwards. From what I've been told, contrary to sort of what you might imagine, and contrary to what he did on his debut, Voltemada's big strength is not necessarily going to be towering headers from crosses. He's different.
Yeah, he's not that. He's a more technical player who can link players into the play as well. He's not going to go beyond that much. I don't think he's lightning quick. He's quick enough. You have to be at this level to get gain. But no, that's not his strength. So working with other good players, that's why I mentioned before that he has to build an understanding with Gordon, you know, when he gets up there and working with him. So that we're waiting to see. And Gyökeres, he's got lots of things as well, but he seems a little bit more of a natural finisher. So, you know, it's going to be comparing a lot of things in this game today. To be honest, I'm leaning towards the midfield. When Arsenal are brave enough to say, right, we're putting Eze on and Trossard and Saka, look, when they lose the ball, they'll go back, they'll work hard. But it's going to be 2 out-and-out midfielders, Rice and Zubimendi, against Jimenez, Tonali and Linton. It's 2 against 3, and they're away from home. So that's a brave move by Mikel Arteta. But he feels that if he gets enough ball in the final third, he will get that ball to Gyökeres. And if he gets enough out to Gyökeres, in good positions, then it's really special. The other thing I'd love to say about Arsenal before we start, they had one way of playing, and it was Odegaard and Saka. Other players did as well, worked with them as well. Now they have got brilliant balance and great options, which other teams will need to figure out.
That's the sound of the players coming out at St James's Park ahead of Newcastle versus Arsenal in the Premier League. Just one more, Pat, then on that Newcastle midfield. You'll have heard Conor Cody earlier and Julien Laurent saying that they think they complement each other better than any other midfield in the Premier League. Joe Linton, Tonali, Bruno. What is it about those three that just works?
Right, well, Joe Linton will work with anyone because he is just a workhorse who will do everything, and a very good player as well. Power. But it's about Tonali and Guimaraes. See, when they first came together, it wasn't working. I was up here for a lot of games. Both wanted to do each other's jobs. They almost never passed to each other. It was weird to watch it. It was like two boxers at the start of a boxing match in a ring, testing each other out. Now they're a duo, and that's what's made the difference. So those two working together, covering each other, one goes forward, one stays back, looking for each other and understanding each other. That took a wee while. Well done, Eddie Howe, getting that to happen.
Flags flying, kick-off on the way in 2.5 minutes' time. Newcastle versus Arsenal here in full on 5 Sports Extra. Full-time whistle's gone. West Ham Chelsea in the WSL. Emily Herbert.
And it's Chelsea's day. Full-time West Ham 0, Chelsea 4. 3 goals in 7 minutes in the first half set the tone. Aggie Beever-Jones extending her remarkable run of scoring in every game this season. West Ham were reduced to 10 players when Bellamy was shown a straight red, and the Hammers will have to wait another week for their first points of the campaign. Full-time West Ham 0, Chelsea 4.
Oh, Russell Martin is screwing up his face at Armand Vale. Gavin Wallace.
Because Livingston have just equalised. I think it was Mo Salah that's got the touch on it. Livingston have been probing and pushing and looked a lot better. Rangers have had every man behind the ball for the last 5 minutes, and now Livingston won, Rangers won.
Wow, well, Gavin will keep us right up to date in the final 20 minutes of that game. Reminder of the full-time scores in the WSL. Brighton 1, Everton 0, Leicester 1, Spurs 2, Liverpool 0, Manchester United 2, Manchester City 4, London City Lionesses 1, and West Ham 0, Chelsea 4. In the Premier League, it finished Aston Villa 3, Fulham 1. You'll get reaction to that at half-time at St James's Park. We've also had live rugby going on this afternoon. Sports Extra 2, Bristol 17, Leicester 17 at half-time. The full-time score from earlier, an absolute cracker. Northampton 33, Exeter 33. Local hero booming out at St James's Park. Newcastle versus Arsenal in the Premier League with Pat Nevin and Mike Minor.
Thank you, Steve. You mentioned those huge black and white flags, some of them bending the pole of which they sit on. They are that big, particularly in the Gallagher end away to our right-hand side. They've been folded away, but don't think that ends the black and white display here at St James's Park. It is still that time of year where it's warm enough to wear just your club shirt, and there are so many black and white vertical striped shirts, the colours of Newcastle, on display on all 4 sides of this ground. If you look up to the top left at the Leazy's end, there is a pocket of red for the Arsenal fans, but they are largely outclassed by the Newcastle faithful that trek to their cathedral on this Sunday afternoon for this great Premier League fixture of Newcastle United against Arsenal. 4 times they met last year, twice in the Premier League, twice in the League Cup, and on 3 of those 4 occasions Newcastle United came out on top. Both sides have been excellent defensively. Newcastle 3 goals conceded in 5 games, Arsenal just 2, but it's up front where they will be asked questions today and see who can perform. We were ready for kick-off through Eza. We're going to have kick-off again, a false start at St James's Park. Newcastle in this first half are right to left, black and white stripes on the shirt, vertical stripes, black shorts and black socks. And Arsenal from left to right, they took the kick-off in their predominantly red shirts with the white sleeves, the white shorts and the red socks. And what we've seen straight away is the talking point at the moment in the Premier League, it seems, Pat Nevin, is these long-range kickoffs belted up the other end of the field.
Exactly. Back to the future. Long throws, lump it into the corner, play for possession a few times as well. Look, there is no right or wrong way to play football. There's a way to win games, and if that's what works for you at the start of a game, then do it. It didn't actually work for Arsenal, they didn't actually win the ball, but Gyökeres was able to close down a little bit and put a marker in as if to say, I'm up for this.
Both managers on the edge of their technical area already issuing instructions to their players. Mikel Arteta screaming at the fourth official as the foul goes in on Bukayo Saka. Arsenal want to take the quick free kick out on this near right hand side of theirs. Zubimendi was looking for the run of Timber down the right hand wing, trying to catch Newcastle off guard. It's not to be. It's going to be reset and taken by Declan Rice.
Right, okay, well, 1 minute into the game, that should have been a yellow card. I think later in the game they felt, but everyone's a bit excited. The referee doesn't want to get too carried away. Had he produced a yellow there for that? That was a terrible swiping challenge there in Saka.
Gerard Gillett is our referee this afternoon. So Rice midway inside the Newcastle half, right hand side, with this free kick that is going to be sent curling into the penalty area. The header is down but straight at Nick Pope, who makes a comfortable catch on his goal line. The header came from Victor Gyökeres as we welcome listeners to the BBC World Service to the northeast of England. Newcastle 0, Arsenal 0, nearly 2 minutes on the clock, and it's Arsenal with the first effort on target, albeit a little tame from Victor Gyökeres.
Yeah, I think it probably was offside as well, but yep, get the ball in there early, test the defenders. That's exactly what Arsenal are doing, but of course, as we all know, they can play as well.
Both sides making 3 changes heading into this game. Lewis, Miley, Hall and Willock are replaced as Joelinton, Gordon and Guimaraes in the Newcastle side. Joelinton and Guimaraes played on the Tuesday night win over Bradford but didn't play against Bournemouth in the 0-0 draw last week. Newcastle get over the halfway line. Anthony Gordon's back after his 3-match suspension in the Premier League following that red card he picked up here in the 3-2 defeat to Liverpool. He's jogging around midway inside the Arsenal half at the minute with his thick black headband on, his blonde hair bouncing with every step and little light jog he takes. Newcastle inside the centre circle. A Pope in goal, Livramento, Chow, Botman and Byrne as their back four. Joelinton, Guimaraes and Tonali in the midfield, and then Murphy and Gordon either side of their big summer signing, Nick Voltemade. For Arsenal, William Saliba's on the bench, managing his return after an ankle injury. They've also got 2 more games to play in the next 6 days, Mikel Arteta said, so he's on the bench. Marino and Madueke also replaced from their last Premier League game. More on that in a moment as Newcastle come down the right. Calafiori steps across, throwing in Newcastle. Mosquera, Saka and Eze come in, so Ray is in goal. Timber, Mosquera, Gabriel and Calafiori the back four. Zubimendi and Rice in midfield. Saka, Eze and Trossard behind Victor Gyökeres, who's had that simple header down the middle of the Newcastle goal, caught by Nick Pope on his goal line. He's up front for Arsenal this afternoon. Newcastle throw, far side the right, which Anthony Gordon is going to take. He backs away towards the LED advertising hoardings, charges up towards the touchline, launches it in, loops it into the penalty area. It's headed towards David Raya, but another simple save for the goalkeeper. 4 minutes played, 0-0, and Raya's thrown that overarm immediately into the Newcastle half, looking for Gyökeres. Pope out of his penalty area, sends that out of play for an Arsenal throw.
That's another old-fashioned one that I haven't seen for quite a few years. Gopi gets it from a long throw, and instead of smashing it long with a kick, he throws it all the way into the opposition half as a pass with his hands. He used to play with a chap called Neville Southall, he used to do that regularly. But the game has started at a great pace. The atmosphere is fantastic at the moment. One very noticeable thing about Newcastle, they get the ball into Voltemade's feet all the time. They zip it in, they believe he can hold it and bring players in, and he's done it twice brilliantly already.
Timber away down the right hand side, Gordon back to recover. It's crossed in early, headed away by Newcastle. Will come to Eze, though, low shot saved by Pope and behind for a corner. The Newcastle goalkeeper got just enough on that left of the penalty area. Eze drilled it low across goal and Pope denies. It's out for an Arsenal corner.
He does everything right. The first touch is absolutely brilliant by Eze and no shock there. Actually, I think he thinks of taking it in a kind of almost a volley with the first one, but he lets it bounce once, doesn't catch it absolutely clean, but keeps it low, keeps it in the corner. Pope has to move through the legs, gets fingertips to it. Great save.
It is fingers, there's no palm from Nick Pope there. It is a fingertip round the right hand post. So Arsenal corner, 0-0 between the pair, 5 minutes played. Corner in front of the Gallagher end, away to our right hand side, and it's Bukayo Saka who stands over the ball, having placed it in the quadrant, almost on the byline as well. Raises his right arm in the air and it's swung in to the middle of the 6-yard box. Pope claws at it, and then it needs Tonali to get under it and send it out of the penalty area for Newcastle United. Trossard brings down the loose ball, knocks it into his own half, and then uses Zubimendi before going back to David Raya, who's in a musty yellow goalkeeper outfit this afternoon for Arsenal. Back in control, Calafiori plays a quick set of triangle passes and ends up with Trossard midway inside the Newcastle half. Out to this near side, it's played back in field from Saka to Jurrien Timber. Jurrien Timber to Gyökeres. Gyökeres takes the touch, tries the shot on the slide just away from the penalty spot. It's blocked, and Newcastle now will try and get away. Jacob Murphy with a lovely skill to dart round one player, gets to the halfway line. Arsenal have managed this well so far, 0-0.
What a brilliant pace to this game. Absolutely phenomenal pace. Zipping, both sides want to attack whenever they get the ball. There's very little holding the ball in midfield and try to control the pace of the game. Both teams want to get on the front foot, and it's made it a really exciting start.
Earlier this afternoon, Aston Villa beat Fulham 3-1. Saka in the penalty area from the right hand side, bundles his way through, crossing far too close to Nick Pope at his near post, and he pats the ball down on the floor, catches it second time, and that gives everybody a breather, including Eddie Howe, who has a sip of his water bottle.
It's interesting to see Saka playing against Dan Burn, because Saka, obviously not the tallest player you've ever seen in your life, against big Dan Burn, and he just doesn't, I mean, it's in the nicest way possible, he doesn't look like a left back. He's too tall, you don't think his turning circle is going to be good enough, but he always managed to get those long legs out there. On this occasion, Saka beat him hands down.
So the Ryder Cup gets underway, day 3 from Bethpage Black in New York, just after 5 o'clock. That's live for you in full on BBC Radio 5 Live, on the BBC Sounds app and the BBC Sport website and app as well. But a bit of news from New York is that Victor Hovland's been ruled out with a neck injury, so his match is halved. Means the latest score is 5 to the USA, 12 to Europe. Europe need just 2 points to retain the Ryder Cup.
Could I be vicious and say, if they all come up with a neck injury?
I didn't want to be cynical, but the thought crossed my mind as well. I don't think anyone would feign injury here to get a point. They both look like they want all 3 this afternoon. Ball comes down the left-hand side of Newcastle's, the near side for Anthony Gordon. He loses out to Jurrien Timber. And then Arsenal quickly, with some one-touch passing in almost a zigzag line, work their way out to the far side with Calafiori.
Actually, brilliant play there by Timber. Timber's got down the right-hand side. He's built up a good understanding here with Saka early on in the game. And it is one of the big questions beforehand. You know, Anthony Gordon on the ball. Is he going to beat his fullback? Well, so far, Timber has got the upper hand in that. Having said that, Gordon only needs to win it once.
Certainly does. Mosquera starting today in the Premier League after replacing William Saliba, who's just managing that ankle injury. He came on for Saliba against Liverpool in that 1-0 defeat for Arsenal, impressed after coming on for just after 5 minutes into the game. The man he's replaced in William Saliba said Mosquera has everything when it comes to being a defender, so high praise indeed from a man at Arsenal who's just signed a 5-year contract as well, William Saliba. Here is Mosquera, sends it down the right hand side rather aimlessly, far too ahead of Jurrien Timber and nowhere near Bukayo Saka. So Nick Pope has it, rolls it low out to Sven Botman on the edge of his penalty area. He switches it to Malik Chow back to Pope. Newcastle under a bit of pressure here inside their defensive third. Eventually Botman digs under it, Voltemada ducks. That allows the ball to bounce past him. Won't come to Gordon though. Burns stretches out one of those long legs of his 6'6" frame and sets Voltemada free on the left hand side. It's a little poke in field for Anthony Gordon. We know he has that ability to curl it from the left of the D. Couldn't get the shot away then. Burn crosses in past Voltemada. Calafiori sends it on its way further across the penalty area. Still goalless here at St James's Park. Murphy then clips it in. Burn goes with Timber, and it's off Timber last, and it's out for a Newcastle corner, 0-0.
Again, loving the pace of this game. You've got Dan Burn flying down the left wing, getting to the byline and doing as a big man does. Doesn't go back, stays in there in case another cross comes in, and then nearly gets in the end of it, managed to win a corner for his team. But yeah, everywhere, all over this field, people attacking others. There's lots of brilliant one-to-one individual battles going on here.
10 minutes gone. BBC Radio 5 Sports Extra and the World Service live from St James's Park. Outswinging delivery from the right hand side towards the head of Malik Chow, who rose highest, but again for the third time in this match we've seen a header not powerful enough, and it's an easy save on his line for David Raya, who bowls it out quickly. Tried to set Eza free, down the middle. Now Pope just outside his penalty area, left-footed long ball back into the Arsenal half, controlled with time from Jurrien Timber. Zubimendi back to Mosquera and all the way back to the man where that play started from for Arsenal in David Raya.
Yeah, football is an arms race, right? So Arsenal are very good at corner kicks, and they'll do every time they get a corner kick. Oh, wait a minute.
Newcastle have won it back, and here's Anthony Gordon just having a look forward. Joe Linton midway inside the Arsenal half, right-footed pass, now works its way out to the far side for Livramento, first time crossing. That deflects at source behind for a corner off Calafiori. Newcastle have the set piece.
For the listener, here's something to learn about football commentary. If it's a game you keep on having to stop yourself describing something, it's a good game, because anything can happen within 10 seconds, and it is one of these games so far.
We will get tactical analysis from Pat Nevin at some point during this game. You might have to wait till half-time, but we will get it at some point. 11 minutes, nearly 12 played at St James's Park, 0-0. Corner far side for Newcastle United. Outswinging delivery again towards Malik Chow. This time he doesn't connect with it, and it swings out the box towards the left-hand side. Anthony Gordon switches it onto his right. Players go up early for that, and it's headed behind again from Arsenal. I think Gabriel this time was the man whose head went on it. A lot went up early, and it was a case of last man standing. Gabriel sends it behind for a corner.
You know how famous Arsenal are and have been for the last few years at corner kicks for and against, defending well because of the height of their team. And then they look at what they're up against today. There's an awful lot of height they're up against today. They are going to be tested.
Yeah, Byrne, Botman, Voltemada, Chow. Good luck Arsenal. There's another Tonali corner from the right hand side. Outswing delivery, that one towards Chow. It's another deflection off an Arsenal player, results in yet another Newcastle corner, still 0-0.
Hanging on a little bit from these crosses there. I mean, they don't really know who to mark. You mentioned them all. Chow is very good in the air, Botman's good in the air. We know Dan Burn, you can't ignore him with his height. And of course, if you add Voltemada on top of that, it is a tough one, that, especially looking at Raya there in the goal there. He's been dwarfed by the two players that are in front of him.
Yeah, David Raya, a mere bystander, watching what's going on in front of him. In it goes, but Raya punches away as it swings back towards his goal line from Tonali on the left-hand side. It's now almost level with the centre circle as Newcastle have to start again. Bruno on the touchline, far side, Newcastle's right. Newcastle 0, Arsenal 0. Bruno Guimaraes loses out, and now Eze sends it in the air forward towards Saka, who never had full control of that, but Newcastle's pass back has given it to Victor Gyökeres, who steals in before the goalkeeper goes down. Penalty Arsenal. Nick Pope had to react to the situation that was in front of him, but Victor Gyökeres was just a little bit quicker, and as he tried to take it round the Newcastle goalkeeper, Pope trips him up. Arsenal penalty.
It is one of those ones you think that is, from here it looks the epitome of a stonewall penalty kick. Now, for any Newcastle fans listening in, he's going away from the goal. I'm not convinced that's a goal scoring opportunity. He's going to clearly score a goal. He's taking it away from the goal there. Everyone will have a good look at it, but the referee's given himself a 2 or 3 second shot, a second or two to think about it. Yes, VAR are going to check it, and that's where VAR is good, because you can see if there was any contact. And to be fair, from another angle we're seeing there, Gyökeres is leaving his leg in there, but that's what happens. Look, let's not kid ourselves. That's a penalty kick with bells on it.
Murphy played the pass back. I don't think he knew Victor Gyökeres was there. Gyökeres' touch, yes, he's going away from goal as he moves to the left of the penalty area, but Pope takes him out, and Gyökeres' touch isn't heavy. He'll still be able to get round Pope and put that in, you'd suspect.
And there's a clash in knees there, and if the keeper comes out, he's going to have a look at it. I cannot believe that. I wonder, is he looking at it? There's two possibilities. They're looking at, is it serious foul play, or is he thinking, was it the contact was started by the forward? That happens all the time. The idea is you flick it past and take the hit. That's exactly what he's done there. I am actually quite shocked he's looking at this.
Well, Jared Gillett's gone over to the halfway line on the far side of the field, completely away from Eddie Howe and Mikel Arteta, who are having a word with the fourth official, Jason Tyndall, down there as well.
I'll tell you what he's saying. Is there a touch with the goalkeeper on the ball?
So does Nick Pope get there first, stretching out that right leg? Does he play it on to Victor Gyökeres?
I think it's the other way around, but it's so tight. It's like, I think Gyökeres plays it onto the goalkeeper's foot, and the hit's going to hit. I still think that's a penalty kick.
Darren England is our VAR official on the big screen, on the huge plastic glass panel that separates the huge rising Leesy's end from the east stand on the far side. There's a big TV screen that says VAR is checking the foul. Newcastle fans rally around their team. Newcastle 0, Arsenal 0. But there's a long look at this from Jared Gillett, our referee.
If he feels it, he's put the ball past him, he's got a touch on it, but he's still taking the player out when he's gone past.
Because I think Gyökeres is getting to that ball. He moves to the left, he is moving diagonally away from goal.
He gets the ball, yeah. He flicks it not past the keeper, but onto the keeper's toe, but he still gets wiped out. You're not allowed to wipe out players.
It's Nick Pope's right leg that cleans out Victor Gyökeres. We had Joe Hart on the show before kick-off. I wonder what Joe would be saying about Nick Pope's actions here.
Well, Joe was saying that one thing Nick's not great at is his feet as a modern goalkeeper, and he did say that. We have to give the big man his due. He did say that.
Here we go. Let's listen in, if we can, to the referee Jared Gillett, who'll be boomed around St James's Park on the PA system. Says no penalty. You only heard half of it. The Newcastle fans didn't need to hear the rest. Most of them are off their feet here in St James's Park, shouting at Mikel Arteta, who now applauds his players almost to reset. But basically the conclusion of that is that Nick Pope played the ball off Gyökeres and then Gyökeres went down.
That's not how I seen it. I have to be honest about it. They keep it. The VAR's looked at it. The referees looked at it. They're suggesting Arsenal cheating Newcastle. Arsenal aren't cheating. What he did is he flicked the ball, he got it first. Yes, he did get a touch on it, but he still wiped out the player. But there is one thing though. I am looking at it from a forward's perspective.
Arsenal now with the bit between their teeth, maybe feeling hard done by as Gyökeres is on the ball, receives a whole load of boost from around St James's Park, and then the tackle comes in. It's played off Gyökeres. Newcastle have a throw. Some of the fans cheering that as if it's a goal of their own, but it is still Newcastle United 0, Arsenal 0.
To be honest, it looks so like a penalty because he's got the ball beyond him, he's running towards it, and there's a collision. It looks so perfectly like a penalty kick, and I think Newcastle got a wee bit lucky there. Interesting, a referee will be saying, well, the rule of the law is if you hit it on the keeper then he wipes you out, it shouldn't be a penalty kick. The morality of it is the keeper's not getting there, and he's taking the player out.
Takes Gyökeres out.
And as a forward you're thinking, wait a minute, you can't do that.
There's no doubt about that. 19 minutes played, 0-0. I'll tell you what, if you thought the USA crowd was hostile at the Ryder Club, try being here at St James's Park this afternoon as Voltemada drops a shoulder, tries to turn around Mosquera. These two having a real tussle off the ball more than on it, and the ball was just scooting down the left hand side, but those two are more concerned with one another. Now here's Bruno Guimaraes, plays it back towards the halfway line as Newcastle choose possession over prominence in the attacking sense. Turned back to Nick Pope by Malik Chow. We expected this game to be competitive, and if we needed any more edge to it, then that penalty overturn by Victor Gyökeres being fouled by Nick Pope, but the referee and his officials have deemed that Pope got a touch first on the ball before taking out Gyökeres. Mikel Arteta just pats his hands down to the floor as if to say to his bench, calm down. I think he might need to look at himself, Arteta. Bruno Guimaraes just away from the right corner of the penalty area. Newcastle right to left in this first half. In comes Murphy. Joe Linton tries to turn it around the corner. Murphy might try and capitalise on the loose ball. Gabriel plays it against Murphy, and then Murphy thinks it comes off Gabriel's hand last, does it? The referee's awarded Newcastle a corner. Goodness me.
That one would have been stunningly harsh. He's cleared the ball away. I actually don't think it's come off his arm at all. I think it's hit his chest and gone back down. However, the more important thing, Newcastle have got a corner, and they've still got lots and lots of height behind them, and they've got some noise behind them as well.
Sandro Tonali with the right-footed out-swinging delivery, headed away by Calafiori at the near post. It'll drop down for Livramento. Now Gordon wants to switch the play. It's a huge arcing ball out towards the right-hand side, looking for Tonali, who's going to latch onto the loose second ball, corner of the penalty area. Tonali stabs it through into the penalty area, but it's basically just a pass to Declan Rice, who can send it clear for Arsenal. And up to, well, you don't need me to tell you who's on it, Victor Gyökeres on the halfway line.
Yeah, which is a bit harsh on him, very harsh on him. I don't think there's any dive involved in that whatsoever, and trust me, I'm the first person to tell you it's a dive and dig them up, but I don't think that's the case at all. But watching Newcastle, they're so positive in the front foot just now. Yes, they're at home, but when they attack, it's almost that everyone goes. They don't leave much back, and quite often their high line isn't on the halfway line. It's 20 yards inside the opposition half, which tells me that Arsenal know this, and they've tried to play a few really early balls from the goalkeeper, sometimes thrown. They think that's a weakness in the Newcastle defence. They're just too high.
An Arsenal side that have won just one of the last 16, lost just one of the last 16 Premier League away games. It did come in that match earlier against Liverpool, though. That 1-0 loss at Anfield, brought back with Raya in his own penalty area. Only twice since May 2022 have Arsenal lost consecutive away league games, and on both occasions the second away match was here at St James's Park. Saka, right hand side, has Timber ahead of him, just making his way into the penalty area. Saka chooses the byline, plays it off Anthony Gordon. It will be an Arsenal corner down on this near side.
Don't get a rest in this game. Anthony Gordon was attacking down the left hand side. Next thing he has to do, get all the way back and help his left full-back Dan Burn try and stop Saka. He makes the tackle. The work rate of Anthony Gordon's been super so far, but apart from a couple of half-decent crosses from pretty wide and pretty deep, he's not really been able to get by Timber, which is a big part of Newcastle's Arsenal.
Anthony Gordon, who played on Tuesday night in that win over Bradford, played here against Barcelona in the Champions League as well and scored. They've been his only games because he's been banned from Premier League action following a red card against Liverpool. Back involved today, stands in the penalty area now. We're preparing for this Saka corner. Little jog up to the ball, stuttering of his feet, high and deep towards the left-hand side of the box. And that was in the plan from Bukayo Saka. Arsenal rebuild, left-hand side, Trossard. And a tussle with Bruno Guimaraes. And that will be a free kick to Arsenal midway inside the Newcastle half. It was a corner that never went anywhere. At the same time, they never really lost the pressure on the Newcastle penalty area.
Do you know what? Arsenal have got a way of playing their corner kicks. Most people know exactly what they do. They run from the back, put a lot of pressure on the goalkeeper. The problem is with the height that Newcastle have got, they've not really been able to do that much. So they tried something different there, which is the ball right to the back post to, I think, where Trossard was waiting. It was in the air too long, and Newcastle could defend it easily enough.
On the edge of their own D, from Livramento, Voltemada, Chow, Botman, Byrne and Joe Linton. I've not seen a Premier League lineup like that for a long time. They've got to be one of the tallest ever sides on average in the Premier League. Ball in towards Gyökeres, header at the near post from Calafiori from that free kick, well wide of the right hand post. Newcastle goal kick. Right,
you've just spotted it, and Mikel Arteta has clearly spotted that, because what they always do is run along the line, duck back in and then wait for the ball to come in. They didn't do that this time. Unusually, one stayed at the back post thinking, we're not going to win that header. So he stayed at the back post and got a header in there. So well done you, Mikel Arteta, seeing the weakness there. Well done.
This will be my last game. I'll be on his coaching staff next week. Arsenal the set piece kings as Joe Linton heads it on. Gabriel knocks it down. And here is Voltemada. We're going to Livingston in a second. There's been another goal there, but here's Voltemada, left-hand side, just takes it to the byline, edges out of the penalty area, challenge comes in, it's all fair. Arsenal need to clear their lines here. They do only as far as Botman, who clips it back in. That'll be an easy one for Saka. Let's go to Livingston then. What news of a goal, Gavin Wallace?
Relief for Russell Martin. Max Aarons at the back post in the last minute or two of this match. He gets it, he twists himself round from the corner in, and it goes into the bottom left-hand corner. Livingston 1, Rangers 2.
And Arsenal have just gone up down the left-hand side of Newcastle, and I think smacked the left-hand post with Leandro Trossard coming in. Brilliant strike of the ball, cleanly hit, but it's the woodwork that denies, and Nick Pope could only watch at his near post. Now Gordon, low shot, scooting away towards the right-hand side of the goal from the left of the penalty area, but it's saved by David Raya easily.
And that just sums up this game. You hand up to Livingston for 10 seconds. There seems to be nothing going on. By the time we get back, There's a great chance it's hit the post, and Newcastle are up the other end attacking themselves. It's extraordinary the pace of this game just now, and the most amazing thing is we've not had a goal yet, and we've had plenty of chances.
We very nearly did through a possible penalty to Victor Gyökeres that was turned down by VAR, and then, as we said there, Trossard hits the post. One of those fine moments as a commentator is whether you wonder whether to butt in or leave it. Possibly got a little bit lucky there, and the woodwork helps out Newcastle and me. 0-0 it is on 5 Sports Extra and the World Service from the BBC, live at St James's Park this afternoon. 0-0 between these pair. If you missed any of the action, you want to listen back and make up your own mind on the penalty, you can do on the BBC Sounds app, as Livramento sends it down the far side, slightly angled infield. He was almost by the corner flag as he did so. Now Chow volleys it away from the edge of the Newcastle penalty area. Black and white stripes for Newcastle, red shirts with the white sleeves from Arsenal. Cloud cover coming over St James's Park. Newcastle have a goal kick. Arsenal protest slightly through Trossard, but it was well marshalled by Livramento on that far side.
There's one real nice thing, we should mention this just now. I mean, I'm calling for years, since before VAR came in. When it comes in, make sure the fans know what's going on. Make sure the referee can explain to people. That's brilliant there. We've just been told, as have all the fans, what happened there, or what the referee feels happened. So there's no kind of residual anger, resentment. They know what the referee he feels he's seen and what he thinks. So whatever anyone says, I'm delighted that that's been introduced.
Arsenal towards the edge of the Newcastle D. Now Saka brings the ball down out of the air with immaculate control, almost stuck to the outside of his boot. Timber sends it in. Eze lets the ball run across his body, left foot, half-volleyed shot into the ground and away from a scrambling Newcastle defence. So the Premier League match centre has said after VAR review, the referee overturned the original decision. His announcement was the Newcastle goalkeeper plays the ball and there is no foul. The final decision is drop ball. Now Calafiori had gone behind the Newcastle byline here, behind the Newcastle goal, to get a towel to dry the ball with, and in doing so the referee has said no, you can't do that, you take this throwing and you'll dry it on your shirt.
I mean, it's had in the past. It's something you there's a shout, same old Arsenal is cheating. What they're trying to do is use everything they can to help them.
In goes Calafiori's throw, bounces once, maybe twice, it'll come to Eze on the edge of the box. Brilliant save by Pope away to his right hand side. Eze caught that sweetly again, as he has done on a couple of occasions, but Pope, through a crowd of players, saw that late, sprung to his right hand side, and he's out for an Arsenal throw-in.
Well, one of the discussions we had at the start of the game where Eze was going to play a little bit further forward in the 10 row to try and find space there. That is his third attempt on target from that precise space. Twice the goalkeeper saved it fantastically. The other time he didn't catch it right, but he's getting all sorts of space in the hole there between the centre midfield and the centre backs.
Scored his first goal for Arsenal in midweek in that win, that 2-0 win over Port Vale, their £60 million signing from Crystal Palace. He looks a good addition to the Arsenal side. Crystal Palace don't look like they're missing him either. Win-win for both sides. In it goes from Calafiori. Header up by Chow. Edge of the penalty area. Eze heads it down. Seems to push Gordon off the ball. The two number 10s coming together, and nothing given by the referee. Arsenal back in possession with Rice just away from the left-hand side of the centre circle. Crossfield pass to this near side for Timber. A yard or two from the byline. Timber's cross is blocked by Tonali. It can't be kept in by Nick Pope. It will be an Arsenal corner. We've played nearly half an hour and it is 0-0 between these two in the Premier League. We'll let this corner happen and then we'll go to Livingston for a full-time report from Gavin Wallace, where I think Russell Martin might finally be able to crack a smile as Rangers manager. The last we heard they were 2-1 up. Newcastle 0, Arsenal 0 at a cloudy St James's Park, pockets of blue sky visible. Newcastle fans with their arms folded behind the Gallagher end, away to our right hand side, the end that Arsenal are shooting towards in this first half. Saka stands, arms down by his side, now raises a right arm in the air for this in-swinging left-footed corner, drifting towards the back post. Trossard's unmarked, Away by Botman, drops to Rice on the left corner of the penalty area. Now Trossard sends the cross in, which Pope catches at the second time of asking. Let's see how Rangers got on in the end then. Gavin Wallace.
Yeah, he has cracked a smile. Livy 1, Rangers 2. Rangers with their first league win of the season. Tavernier open proceedings on 24. The Hawks equalise on 68 thanks to Mulsilla. Max Aarons at the back post in the last minute means Rangers go up to 8th. Livy 1, Rangers 2.
Lofty heights of 8th for Rangers. A poor start to the season, their first win in the Scottish Premiership. 0-0 here, Pat Nevin.
Yeah, very noticeable. We talked a moment ago about that back post crossed because of the height that Newcastle have got in there. Arsenal don't do that very often. They have done it now with the past 3 set pieces. Newcastle have got to spot it. They've got to see that's what they're going to do. They're going to do it all the time. So you've got to leave someone at that back post or you will be found out.
The very first tee shot of day 3 of the Ryder Cup is about to happen. You can go to BBC Radio 5 Live on the BBC Sounds app. Here's Saka down in the right, and he takes the shot, and Pope has to save again, pushing it around the post. Saka went alone there down the right hand side, went for the near post shot too, but Pope equal to it. There's been some big saves from Nick Pope this afternoon.
That's 3 or 4 very, very good chances for Arsenal now. And it's on his right foot, Saka's right foot. Now, it's not his strongest foot, we know that. He's under a little bit of pressure as well. But everyone's expecting him to put it across the face of the goal. Even I think Pope is expecting that as well. He didn't, but there was just not enough power on it.
Scores or assists this afternoon, Bukayo Saka. It'll be his 100th goal involvement for Arsenal in the Premier League. He'd be the second youngest to do so, behind Cesc Fabregas. But still Arsenal wait with the score at 0-0. 13 minutes to half-time. BBC Radio 5 Sports Extra on the BBC Sounds app as well this afternoon, the BBC Sport website and app, and BBC World Service. Saka's in-swinging corner again towards the rear of the box. Nobody there. They'd all left it. Timber had moved away. Calafiori had moved too close to goal. Behind for a Newcastle goal kick.
But it was the same place, wasn't it? They tried to put it to the same place, and Tonali had spotted it. He went back there and he waited for it. So, you know, there's always things going on with set pieces just now. People know, and all the top clubs know, the difference between a draw and a win is probably one moment's either inspiration or good organisation. Arsenal had a little bit of a chance that they were getting balls at the back post there. I'm not sure that's come from the bench. I think that's just Tonali's thought, yeah, I know what the problem is here. I'm going to stay at that back post. Now we're going to have to do something else.
Well, heading into this afternoon, Newcastle have faced fewer Premier League shots than any other side in the top division of England, but that might have changed this afternoon. And you talk about fine moments winning games. If Newcastle do come out of this with all 3 points, they can look to the other end of the field and thank their goalkeeper Nick Pope. Oh, that's a miscue from Mosquera, trying to guide it back to David Raya. He can't, and he's just given away a cheap corner to Newcastle.
Well, Mosquera, you know, defensively he's looked fine. He's done all the right things. He wins the ball. He's certainly got a good attitude towards everything. He tackles well. He's good in the air. On the ground so far, he has looked very, very shaky. When he's played the ball in midfield, often lost it. And on that occasion, playing with a weaker left foot, he just skies it back for a corner kick for Newcastle. And that's not what you want to do too often.
In front of that looming huge stand of the Leesy's end away to our left-hand side. Tonali stands with his hands on his hips. 12 minutes to go to half-time. 0-0. Tonali, short corner this time to Anthony Gordon, who returns it back to the Italian. Drifts it in with his right boot. Voltamada! Rises highest and runs off into the corner to celebrate his header down into the bottom left-hand corner, and Newcastle take advantage of a set piece through one of their lofty players, and it's their new striker Nick Voltamada with a header past David Raya, and it's Newcastle 1, Arsenal 0.
I was talking before about that arms race, and it's doing different things at different corner kicks. Newcastle will consistently put the ball in there, put the pressure under the goalkeeper Raya. So everyone in Arsenal was expecting that. And when you're expecting it, you do something different. That's what they did. They played a short corner, changed the angle of attack, and because of that confusion, Baltimore found themselves in a lot of space there. Arsenal are complaining that there was some pushing and shoving. There almost always is. I'm struggling to see where that is. Yes, one player's landed on the ground. We're getting a better view on our monitors now. Nah, there's the tiniest touching back. No chance. That's a goal.
Header on the edge of the 6-yard box. Angle to the bottom left. And Pat Nevin, you spoke about moments, you talked about inspiration. It comes from a mistake. Mosquera's pass back gave that corner away. He got it wrong. Newcastle worked the corner well, and Voltemada heads it for 1-0.
Yeah, and that's why they work so hard on these moments. You know, don't make tiny little mistakes, and more importantly, when you don't make a mistake, do not compound it. Arsenal compounded it by slightly turning off, not expecting the short corner. Newcastle made great capital out of it, but then again, if you've got the land of the Giants in there, all you need is a good ball in. And Voltemada, great header there.
Well, the land of the Giants are going to have to do some defensive work here, because Tonali's miscued header's given Arsenal a corner away to our right hand side. In the aftermath of that corner, Gabriel and Voltemada still not happy with one another. Voltemada's explaining that perhaps I gave you a flick, if anything, and Gabriel's fighting his own corner.
I wonder if Voltemada's saying you elbowed me in the face there. I think that's what he's trying to suggest off the ball. You know, Arsenal need to be calm now.
To elbow someone in Voltemada's face, you've got to angle your elbow upwards.
You need to jump out about a foot and a half to give him. He just elbowed me in the belly button. I think he would probably say, rather than in the face. I mean, he has a towering presence. And by the way, Voltemada, he has fought in battle today, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Held the ball up brilliantly.
And that's what Eddie Howe was saying a couple of weeks ago. His game is more than just being the target man. Corner to Arsenal, far side. Declan Rice will take. In swinging delivery. Loop to the back post. Header by Botman. Newcastle fans will say that header was good and has come out towards this near side. Then Tonali battles with Trossard, who appeals to the official on this near side. He's having none of it. Arsenal have a throw through that clearance, but the danger on the penalty area is gone. We have 8 minutes to half time. Newcastle 1, Arsenal 0. It has been everything that we expected this fixture to be.
It has, you know, there's been good play as well. There's been lots and lots of chances. I think maybe Arsenal had probably more chances than Newcastle had, more, certainly absolute clear-cut chances. But, you know, just the fact that Newcastle are willing to adapt that little bit during the game. Arsenal just doing the same things with their set pieces. Newcastle thought, well, that's not working, we'll try something else. And it's worked for them by doing that change, making that change.
Keep it 5 Sports Extra for uninterrupted Premier League commentary now of Newcastle 1, Arsenal 0. Over on 5 Live, you've got the final day of the Ryder Cup. Reminder that injury to Victor Hovland means his match is halved. So they start 5 points to the USA, 12 to Europe. Europe need just 2 points to retain. 14.5 will give them the outright win. You can watch highlights of that tonight, 11:50 BBC 2. I'd keep it the radio for now, and then watch all the highlights later. You've got Match of the Day 2, 10:30 BBC 1. That's followed by the WSL show 11:20 BBC 1, and then 11:50 you've got the golf highlights from the Ryder Cup, where Europe are currently set for victory, but take nothing away from the drama that the Ryder Cup can provide in the singles matches on the final day. Saka right hand side for Arsenal, almost level with the corner of the penalty area. Gordon going with him step for step. Those two tangle, both miss out on the ball. Timber slides it into Eza, edge of the penalty area. He's got nowhere to go. Marshalled by Botman fairly as well. Then Gordon tries to wriggle away. Timber slides in, catches Gordon. Gordon wins the free kick. There's a real spice about this game now.
Yeah, the tackles are flying in. And I have to say, I immediately thought Timber's tackle was a good one there. I thought he got it clean. But it's happening so fast that you can't tell for sure. But the ball was scrambling about there. Timber's been close into him constantly. Watched it a second time. Referee is spot on. That's a free kick.
Botman for Newcastle, edge of his defensive third. Gordon flicks it round the corner to Voltemada, who instantly returned it back to Gordon. It comes off the referee's boots, that, but Newcastle having a play on. Now Voltemada chips it over Zubamendi, and Tonali's on the left-hand side, rolls it into Bruno Guimaraes. She'll be forced away from the goal that Newcastle are shooting towards on our left-hand side, but he's done brilliantly there to angle it back to the corner of the box from midway between touchline and penalty area. Here's Tonali, swings it in early, headed away from Zubamendi back there for Arsenal. Botman slides in, his ball then hits Tonali. Newcastle now have to set defensively, because here's Gyökeres on the right hand side. Eza with him, step out from Gyökeres. He'll then try and flick it back behind himself, but Malik Chow was there, and and Newcastle can see it away from their penalty area, and Chow's going on a little run here up towards the halfway line, back to Dan Burn, and Newcastle have just calmed things down a little bit. 1-0.
What about the reaction round here for a tackle? That sounded like a goal in a cup final. Amazing reaction. And then he gets the ball and he calmly runs away with it, Chow. And then he get almost a standing ovation for the entirety of this ground here. The Newcastle defence so far has been pretty brilliant, even though there have been 2 or 3 very, very good chances for Arsenal. But their willingness to get close, their absolute insistency will not give a half an inch of space to any Arsenal player. I mean, the quality you've got of particularly Eze, and Saka as well, they'll very rarely get the ball with an ability to run at people in this game, have they so far? But can Newcastle keep that intensity up? There's the question.
Well, we've got a little stoppage in play at the minute because Tonali's down injured, the medics are on.
Yeah, ball was smashed into him, wasn't it? I was wondering if it hit him in the face, but it actually looked to me as if it got him in the chest or just below, so maybe I've just winded him. But it was an attack, it was his own player that smashed him. Actually, it must have been his face.
It's concussion because they're doing the waving of the finger in front of the eyes with the medics, so they'll have to check that he's okay. They'll have to follow the concussion protocols on the atmosphere. Mikel Arteta was asked about that pre-game. 4 minutes to half-time, by the way. We know the test will have to be more efficient than we have been in previous seasons here at St James's Park, he said. Earlier today, and we'll bring you reaction at half-time of Aston Villa 3, Fulham 1 in the Premier League. Big needed victory, their first of the season in the Premier League for Unai Emery's side, just a few days on after they beat Bologna in the Europa League to get an important win at Villa Park as well. Coming up on 5 Live this week, because Champions League action returns, Newcastle will go to Union Saint-Gilloise in Belgium, Arsenal will host Olympiacos, but you're off to Turkey.
I am in the morning, looking forward to it. Istanbul, not been there for a few years, but one thing you will always get at Galatasaray is one extraordinary atmosphere. I've played there before and it's absolutely incredible.
Hero Galatasaray.
Oh, I'll tell you next week. I'll certainly tell you once I come away from here. Get lynched.
So Galatasaray Liverpool on Tuesday night. Ian Dennis and Pat Nevin will be there. Then we're in Monaco for Monaco against Manchester City on Wednesday night. City started with an impressive win over Napoli. Newcastle will be hefty wary of Union Saint-Gilloise because they went to Eindhoven in their first Champions League opener and came away with a storming result and shocked the Dutch side somewhat. So Newcastle will be in a test. They're in one here though. They're leading Arsenal by 1-0 with just under 2 minutes left of normal time in this first half. We'll have a bit of added time. We had a VAR penalty overturn, foul or not foul on Victor Gyökeres. A little bit of afters. Tonali's just had some treatment too. So although the game has been end-to-end, it's been a fascinating encounter. There'll still be more of it to come. At the end of these first 45 minutes, Saka pulled to the floor in a combination between Byrne and Gordon as a little breeze just whips around St James's Park. It is a mild afternoon. I've been on I was listening to Colin Murray's show this morning. I'm in his football brunch with David James. I'm on glove watch to see whether it's that time of year where the gloves come out for players, but can't, bar the goalkeepers obviously, I can't see anyone out there sheltering their hands.
I'm just devastated you never mentioned the Great Football Songbook.
Well, I know certainly next week Steve Crossman will be tuning into that because it's Middlesbrough next week, so you're up to 50 editions of the Football Songbook.
Yeah.
Great little feature looking at the anthems of clubs and the songs that the fans sing from the stands. Available to listen back on BBC Sounds if you missed this morning's edition, which was, Pat?
I'm not telling you, you need to go and listen to it in the sounds. So
there's the ultimate teaser for everyone involved. 1-0 Newcastle. That goal through their new signing, Nick Voltamada. We're expecting 7 minutes of added time at the end of this first half. The fourth official, Anthony Taylor, readies the board, shows a green number 7 on its little dotted LED screen. So still plenty more to go in this first half. Long ball by Nick Pope. Arsenal see it away from their own penalty area. Joe Linton heads it back towards the 18-yard box of the Gunners. Head tennis all round here as it makes its way towards the halfway line, then off the shoulder of Joe Linton, controlling it. Here's Dan Burn down the left, flicking it along the touchline, hoping that someone had made the run. Gordon was a little late to it, but Mosquera, taking no chances, sends it out for a Newcastle throw 20 yards from the Arsenal byline. 1-0 Newcastle.
Yeah, and it really has rarely gone down below about 80 mile an hour. It's kept on going for the entirety of the game. There are some players that really struggled to get into the game, like Sir Murphy. I don't blame them. It's just been so hard. I think the studs were up there. Anthony Gordon's gone down. I don't think he was touched. The referee, to be fair, there's been a couple of big calls that he's had to make in this game. But the fact that he's not given a free kick every time someone rolls onto the ground, that's allowed this game to keep on at this pace. So, right at this point in time, it's worth underlining the officials. They play a big part in the game being less dull, because they allow them to flow. And boy, has this game flowed at a rapid pace.
It's been a joy to be at this afternoon for 5 Live. 5 Sports Extra bringing Newcastle 1 Arsenal. A reminder right now, live Ryder Cup action on BBC Radio 5 Live, the final day of USA against Europe. Europe starting with a huge advantage over America. It's been a great listen. Now Timber takes over right hand side, set through by Saka, just has to hold it up and then slips edge of the penalty area, does his best to recover, but he can't. Saka can't help him out in time, and Joe Linton will bring the ball forward. That was a promising position from Arsenal that just went away in the slip of a boot, and before the game they were watering the other half of the pitch, the end that Newcastle are shooting towards, not the Arsenal end, and now Newcastle had a free kick on the halfway line with Gordon downed and holding his right knee. Yeah,
brilliant little bit of skill from him. He's in the corner, he's dummied one player, but he's got Timber in front of him, and there's no way around him unless you go through. And actually it's Saka he's caught him, but it's not deliberate. It's a free kick, it's nothing more than that. But Saka and Timber, they're desperately working against Dan Burn and Gordon right in front of us here, and it has been a great battle to watch. I can't tell you who's really absolutely winning it, because I'm impressed by Timber, but as the game has gone on, Gordon is getting more and more involved, which is a worry for Arsenal fans.
Tonali sends that ball with a load of backspin towards the penalty area from the halfway line. Almost don't want them to swap ends at half-time. Arsenal have seen it away, because we won't see that Gordon-Saka Timber battle, Burn battle as well in the second half quite so clearly. They'll be on the other side of the field. Now Gordon has a nibble at Saka. They are rivals today, I tell you. Saka goes down, and Newcastle come away with the ball. I think he felt there was hands on the back of him from Anthony Gordon there. They'll both want to be on the plane to America next year, in Canada and Mexico, the World Cup. England's latest squad selection to come on Friday morning. 5 Live will be there for that one, as Pope sends it away on the pass back out for a throw-in on the far side. 1-0 Newcastle.
Well, Saka's complaining, so is Timber there, that they're not getting the free kicks. They feel that every time there's a kind of barge in any way against, they get free kicks given against them, they're not getting much. Part of that's just being the team that's not playing at home.
Calafiori shot a volley across in from the far side, the left-hand side of Arsenal. He sliced that into the Gallowgate end, away to our right-hand side. We've had 3.5 minutes of the 7 that were added on at the end of this first half. Newcastle 1, Arsenal 0. The goal coming from Nick Voltemada's header.
Yeah, and this game absolutely deserved a goal, at least a goal. Certainly this 45 minutes with all the chances of that. But looking at both managers, what will they do to change it? I mean, Eze, one of my favourite players around in football today, although he's had 3 good chances, he's hardly been involved in the game. He can't get a kick of the ball other than just arriving, which isn't a bad thing, but you need more than that in midfield. Declan Rice, he's in there battling and fighting, but you're not seeing the best of Declan Rice because it's 2 against 3 in there. Do you change it in the second half to give Declan Rice a wee bit of more opportunity to go forward? A lot of question marks. Trossard, again, much more limited involvement in this game. At least the one thing that Arteta's got are those options that we were talking about before the game.
That was one of the questions raised, wasn't it? That Arsenal's formation has changed ever so slightly to allow Eze into the number 10 role. Saka on the right, Trossard on the left. What is more of a 4-2-3-1 from Arsenal. And
we're right in the line with it. It's 4-2-3-1. Yeah. It really is. I mean, Eze's standing there. Maybe the one question I would say about Eze, during open play, don't stand in the 10 position. That's the last thing you do. You must only arrive there when the ball arrives there, and maybe that's why it's been a little bit easier to mark some of the time by Tonali.
Rice's ball down the middle hits a Newcastle player and just bounces into the path of Anthony Gordon. Now Tonali a yard in from the touchline, left hand side, just strokes the ball over a little bit of white tape that's been left on the field from some strapping that a player's got to their socks or something, but not needed and discarded on the pitch for now. Nick Pope away to our right hand side, uses Botman, the press comes from Eze. Burn on the left hand side sends it up towards the halfway line, flicked on by Voltemada. Was he pushed over as he goes to ground through Gabriel? Nothing again indicated by Jared Gillett. We've got a couple more minutes left of the 7 that was shown at the end of this first half. Rice on the halfway line to the left of the centre circle. Arsenal trailing Newcastle by a goal to nil here. Here's Eze. Zubimendi inside the centre circle now.
Yeah, I mean, how many times have you actually seen a player in the midfield slow down and put his foot in the ball? It's hardly happened. Whereas you think of Premier League football in the last 7, 8, 9 years, that's the game. That's what everyone's trying to do. Control it, pace it their own way. Just doesn't happen here.
Arsenal will try and break the lines with Eze. Now the ball with Gyökeres. He can't find it through. Saka controls it well though as the ball ricochets to him right at the penalty area. Just showed a little too much, not necessarily through any fault of his own, to Dan Burn. The ball was a difficult one to control for Bukayo Saka, and Arsenal have to go again from the halfway line with just 30 seconds of the first half remaining. Trailing as they are by a goal to nil. Declan Rice, that thick brown mop of hair on his head, in from the right hand side. The ball is played by Timber to Rice again. Here's Gabriel, left footed curling ball into the box. It's not going to get past Dan Burn. Now Voltemada trying to hold it up for Newcastle with his back to the Arsenal half, and they've worked a way out down the left hand side. It's a light jog at best from Anthony Gordon to get them over into the Arsenal territory. He then switches the play, and there's acres of space for Tino Livramento, always looking up. He slides it on the inside right channel for Jacob Murphy. Murphy with a couple of touches, the cross goes in over everybody, and the referee calls half time on a fascinating first half here at St James's Park, where Arsenal had a penalty turned down through Victor Gyökeres. They had peppered Nick Pope's goal, needing the Newcastle goalkeeper to make numerous fantastic saves, some of them reactionary, some of them perfectly timed, to keep Arsenal at bay. And Newcastle, who've struggled for goals in the Premier League this season, took their moment. Mosquera gave the ball with a Paul Bass back to a corner kick, and from that Tonali swung it in. Voltemada with his huge frame rose highest and buried the ball into the bottom left hand corner with his head, and it means Pat Nevin at the break. It's Newcastle 1, Arsenal 0.
Yeah, breathless stuff. Loved every second of it. I think we've had 52 minutes of football there. It felt like 5.5 minutes of football. Really loved every moment of it. Great atmosphere in here as well. Both teams desperate to get in the front foot as much as they possibly can. Anything could happen in the second half of this game. Really intrigued to see how the managers look at it. Technical changes they make, tactical changes they make. For Arsenal, they're one down, as you say. They've made plenty of chances, but one of the things they go for is the power plays from the set pieces. They ain't working today. Even though they've worked so often in the past, you might have to adapt it. Let's see how they adapt it in the second half. I have a great suspicion that Newcastle won't adapt theirs, because they've looked dangerous every time they put the ball in there. And as I said earlier on in the game, with the land of the Giants, no wonder. And the biggest giant of them all was the one that scored the goal.
He certainly has. Newcastle won this fixture 1-0 last year with a 12th minute goal from Alexander Isak. Newcastle lead this one at half time 1-0 through the man who replaced Alexander Isak, Nick Voltemada, and his header means it's Newcastle 1, Arsenal 0.
What a great half that was, Pat. Absolutely brilliant, full of intensity. But can we just have a quick word first on the goal and Gabriel? I mean, he has flopped over under a bit of contact, hasn't he? Imagine if that had been overturned.
I'd have been gutted for everyone, because in the game you know there's going to be physical contact. You try to tell me Gabriel doesn't do that to other people on the box time and time again. Really, you need to have a bit of physicality about it. He should stay up there. He should try to be strong. That tells me that he doesn't think he can get there. That tells me the ball's gone over me. The player beside me's done me. He's got a little bit of space because they've changed the angle. They've taken the short corner. Arsenal aren't ready for it. and he thought, well, I'll throw myself. Now, he's not the only player that does that. Quite a few have done it in the past, and often, they'll look back at it and go, oh yeah, there's a little bit of a touch, he's throwing himself down. This referee he's not doing that today. There's been a couple of times when there's been physical contact and he's went, no, get on with it. He did it in the first minute. Players want to know then, this is the refereeing standard we're getting today. Don't throw yourself to the ground because you might not get it. You didn't get it, and I'm with the referee in that one.
Stay with us, you two, because there's a couple more things that we want to just dissect. Before we do that, though, we're going live to New York because, of course, we've got the final day of the Ryder Cup, which you can listen to right now in full on 5 Live. James Gregg has joined us here on 5 Sports Extra. Oh, James, some lesser spotted red on the board.
Yes, there is, yes, in the form of Cameron Young birdieing the first hole. I was listening to John Murray describe that one. It sounded pandemonium down there on that first hole, as it has been all week, anytime there has been a flicker of red. But, yeah, the USA up in one match at the moment. And, look, that's all that they can ask, really, isn't it, from a USA standpoint, with such a deficit to try and overturn.
Atmosphere so far, then, given everything that happened yesterday?
I mean, look, I will say that it was poor at best, the atmosphere out there, and look, you just got to doff your cap really to how well the European players handled it. They'd been perfectly within their rights to, really have a pop back, and look, even if it had let it affect them, you'd have said fair enough. And I'm just looking at the two main protagonists of that, Shane Lowry and Rory McIlroy. Big hug just 10 yards away from me. This is the beauty of being where we are here on 5 Live and Sports Extra and across our coverage, because you get so up close and personal, and we had the benefit, or you could say misfortune, of hearing a lot of those taunts and jibes and very unoriginal shouts from the American crowd. And I was saying to Colin Murray earlier on that actually it's a small majority, but a far bigger majority than you'd expect at most golf tournaments, any golf tournament, and actually probably any other sporting event, because it was just straight up abuse. But McIlroy and Lowry, I mean, they managed it so well. Yeah, of course they did turn and have a couple of pops back at certain occasions, but the way they managed that, and every single time they had to step away from a shot, it seemed like they then turned back and either hit it close, rolled a putt in, chipped one in, whatever it was. So they didn't seem to learn, the American fans yesterday. I think actually the writing is on the wall, and in that regard I think they'll be a little quieter today, but you just never know until we get out there.
James, thank you very much. That's James Gregg, and as I say, Ryder Cup coverage continues on 5 Live here on 5 Sports Extra. We're focused on the Premier League, so it's half-time, Newcastle 1, Arsenal 0. Pat Nevin and Mike Mine inside the stadium. We'll let you go for a cup of tea in a second, Pat, but just before we do, we've done the Gabrielle, the penalty incident. Okay, so I understand that it's certainly, when you look back at it, fair enough that he gets a touch, and that's not something the referee saw, so that makes sense as a review. So do you go along the lines of, referee didn't think he got the ball, but he did, therefore no penalty, or does it feel slightly more nuanced than that, even so?
It is more nuanced than that. I'll tell you why it's more nuanced than that. Right, we've got a small monitor here, but this is what I have seen from what I can see. Gyökeres gets the ball, touches it beyond the keeper, who then gets a tiny little flick with his foot, just a tiniest little touch, fine, okay, and then follows through and wipes Gyökeres out, who is going through and could possibly score a goal. Ask the question of yourself. Say the winger's out wide, goes to a fullback, flicks it by, fullback gets a wee touch, still in play, but wipes out the winger. You're giving a free kick, aren't you? You're absolutely giving a free kick. Every single day of the week you're giving a free kick there. What's different about the box? The rules aren't different. Even if you do, if you take a tiny little touch and you follow through and you wipe out the player, it's called not being in control, or could be even as dangerous. Usually in those situations, in normal play, you give a free kick. The question remains, why is it different in the box? And that's a position I was thinking of at the time. Having said that, VAR's there, they've looked at it, they have considered it, they thought of the rules. Now, if there's something else involved, which I need to underline here, if the keeper's got it first and then hit Gyökeres, that changes everything. But that's not what I've been able to see in the small monitor we've got.
Yeah, and look, the reality is that could easily have gone either way. In fact, initially it went one way and then it went the other. The point is, what it has done is just added to the building of an atmosphere and intensity, which I didn't want that first half to end.
Yeah, I felt exactly the same about it. I thought you were going to go all Spinal Tap on me there. It was at 10 and it's gone to 11 now. And that's gone a wee bit. It's been brilliant beforehand, but the noisy, there is a little bit of antagonism between the two teams. Certainly Arsenal in the recent past have used their physicality very, very well, and that hurts when you're bullied a little bit. They ain't bullying Newcastle today. Absolutely nowhere near it, at no part of the pitch. And it's extremely good to see that they're a technically very, very proficient side, Newcastle, but that fighting and that battling that you need in the Premier League against the very top side, they have shown so much of it today. And no one more than Gyökeres. He has been a joy to watch today. The ball's played up to him, second favourite, time and time again, often against two players, and it's almost like trying to tackle a wall. You're wasting your time. You're not going to get the ball off him. You can't get around him. He's been brilliant to watch today, but there's been plenty of players, and do you know what, there'll be plenty in the second half as well, and there might be a whole different bunch of them. This game isn't finished, but the chances, and I suspect the goals aren't finished either.
Great stuff, you two. Thank you very much for the time being. Pat Nevin and Mike Minor inside St James's Park. That was a very intense first half. Newcastle 1, Arsenal 0. Already today in the Premier League, it finished Aston Villa 3, Fulham 1. We brought you full commentary on Premier League Sunday. Rob Nothman's been speaking to a very frustrated Marco Silva.
Well, Marco, the game started well and you were in front early on. Were you frustrated, though, by the way it ended?
Yes, 100% sure. We have to be. We have to be looking for ourselves. And things that we can control is the way we play, the way you attack, the way you defend, the way you are balanced inside the pitch. And we have to blame ourselves for the defeat.
Should you have had 2 penalties in that first half? You're smiling.
I knew it will come the question, because I think it's too obvious. It's so obvious. It's so obvious. That is what I can say more. It's being week after week. We played 6 games in Premier League. I have to say our start is being good. We lost 2 games, and you see the way we lost 2 games when VAR made a massive impact. And unfortunately for us, it's being too much against ourselves. And this afternoon again, if I'm going to try to explain to you my vision again, is not going to change anything again, because they come with a completely out of the book explanations, trying to convince with things that we cannot see there. You see things that are so clear and so obvious, and they come with explanations that no one believes what they are trying to explain to us. And that is the thing in football now, right? I don't understand the direction they want. What I can say, for me, is clear penalty, the first one, clear penalty. Even if the ball goes in a different direction, when he tried to dribble Martinez, he was tackled by Martinez. Clear was tackled by Martinez. And I would like to say that, and I don't need protection for Josh. I don't want the referees to try to educate one player that is just 18 years old. We know how to educate him. I have to be even more clear. He has the enough education, how to play football, how to don't cheat the game, how to do the right things in football. He has the enough education. It's for me, in 2 weeks, in 2 games, so quick how they gave yellow cards for George in 2 moments inside the box. For me, is almost incredible. Last week I was first one saying it's not a penalty. To Arce, a yellow card was not a penalty. This afternoon, amazing how the referee was so quick to give a yellow card for him in a clear penalty, in my opinion. Clear. What you can never say that was a simulation from him, and for me was incredible. The second penalty, okay, is the handball. I know that in Premier League you don't give so many handballs like that one. But I go back for the Chelsea game again, where you got a penalty against us from Sessegnon that he didn't do on purpose, like Cash didn't do on purpose this afternoon. Sessegnon tried to avoid the cross, make the body bigger, turn back to them and make the body bigger. Wasn't ball, and VAR, okay, and they explain as, he make the body bigger, has to be penalty. Okay, this afternoon, Cash didn't do on purpose, but the ball goes to the goal and he make the body bigger. Why against us with Chelsea is a penalty? Why the same people? Because they are the same. They are the same referees. They are the same officials. They are the same VAR is the same guy that is on the top. Why this afternoon was not a penalty again? Because that I said is too obvious for me to try to explain things that you don't believe what they write. You don't believe their explanations, like I don't believe.
So what happens now? Do you ask now specific questions from the referee's body to try to get some answers to all of those points?
I will not ask nothing, because when I try to ask something, and I can be more emotional sometimes with the things that are happening with Fulham Football Club so far. Sometimes I'm the first one being emotional on a touchline, and I know. But every time I try to say something, the yellow card comes so quick to me as well. I have to be better to be quiet. Even I try to get an explanation about the corner, at the position of our players in the corner, and it was go in. I will not do it. Because I know what comes. I saw in the screen the explanation about the penalty. So in the screen, you are laughing like I laugh in that moment. I saw in the screen.
I don't think he agrees with some of the referees' decisions today. I don't know what you make of it. Full time, that was Aston Villa 3, Fulham 1 in the Scottish Premiership. Stoppage time winner from Max Aarons gave Rangers their first league win of the season, 2-1 at Livingston. Here's manager Russell Martin.
I'm really proud of the players. We deserve to win. I think the first half's the best we've been, for sure. Some of the football we played, the chances created, we should score more goals, and the game should be done. But it's not, so then a bit of tension creeps in. We give away a really poor goal because we lost control of the game early on in the second half and couldn't quite grip it back. But they are fighting and working so hard for each other, for us as a coaching staff, and I'm proud of them. So I think we got what we deserved in the end.
I saw how you celebrated that goal going in, rightly so, when it did. I mean, it meant the world to you.
Yeah, it does. Believe it or not, this job means the world to all of us that are here. So we want to win. I'm just so happy for the players today. I'm so happy for them because they really stuck at it, and they're growing all the time. And now we have to make sure we do it more consistently.
Is it too dramatic to suggest that Max Aarons may well have kept you in a job with that goal?
I don't know. I haven't felt like that at all. So no, I can't answer that question because it's not relevant. He scored and I'm in a job, so we're good.
The fans celebrated the goal and then turned their ire to you once again. I just wonder, what do you think needs to happen for the fans to get fully behind you and your project?
We need to win a lot. They saw a team that's really fighting and running for each other, for me, for the coaching staff. We just need to win a lot. So I have nothing to say about that, really. I can't control any of it. I'm really pleased with the players, but it's why I walked down the tunnel so quickly as well, because it's then aimed at me, and it's not about me. It's about the players that won a game of football today by being really brilliant in the first half and then really gritty and showed a lot of character in the second.
Another spicy interview. Russell Martin with BBC Scotland's Keradine Idisan there, ready for second half commentary pretty much at St James's Park. Newcastle leading Arsenal by 1-0. William Saliba is coming on. Do you know, Mike Minay, what I thought was really interesting is that we heard from Arteta before the game saying, well, we're managing him and it's 3 games in a week. He didn't have to play him for 90 minutes at Port Vale in the League Cup. It's quite interesting, that, true. Isn't it?
It is. Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine for 1 minute he's put Port Vale ahead of Newcastle in the charts, but yeah, he's off. He's on. Sorry, William Saliba, and Christian Mosquera has come off for William Saliba, who makes his 105th Premier League appearance for Arsenal. In the week that he signed a new 5-year deal, it's been reported by everybody, including us at the BBC, and everybody except Arsenal, who've kept it quiet for now. But I think that the mood is in and around the press box, Pat Nevin. No one's surprised by that change.
It would have been a mild surprise had they not come on. Had a couple of really difficult moments, and certainly when you look at the play that you got from Baltimore.
Livramento, lovely turn. Murphy, right hand side, he'll put it back across goal looking for Livramento. There's Baltimore off the bar and behind. Offside flag spares both Newcastle and Arsenal there. Well, all of a sudden, Livramento was allowed to turn midway inside the Arsenal half. Then it was 3-on-2. He passes it to his right-hand side where Murphy is offside. And Voltemade, leaning back on the edge of the 6-yard box, hits the bar and it goes over. It's still Newcastle 1, Arsenal 0.
I was going to ask the question, can it possibly go at the same pace in the second half? The answer is probably yes, by the looks of things, the way it started. And it was a real shame there for Newcastle, because the flag went out eventually for the pass on the right-hand side. The pass should have been played a second earlier. Now, when I say a second earlier, that sounds like a short time. It's not in those circumstances. You have to time them right. So had that ball ended up on the net and they wouldn't have got the goal, I think Eddie Howe would have been fuming about it. That was a great opportunity.
So ball out of play, Newcastle throw. Newcastle no change at the break, so they are Pope in goal in their black and white outfield shirts. vertical stripes, black shorts and black socks. Livramento, Chow, Botman and Byrne are their back four, even though Livramento found himself very advanced for that opportunity a few seconds ago. Joe Linton, Guimaraes and Tonali in midfield. Murphy and Gordon either side of their goal scorer Nick Voltemada. Arsenal clear out the ball for another Arsenal throw, this time through Calafiori. Arsenal now with Raya in goal. Timber, Saliba, Gabriel and Calafiori are back four. Zubimendi and Rice as the holding midfielders. Slightly change of formation for Arsenal today, given that they've now got a 4-2-3-1. That three, Saka, Eze and Trossard, and it's Victor Gyökeres, who thought he might have had a penalty in the first half if it wasn't for VAR. He's up front for the Gunners, who are red shirt to the white sleeves, white shorts and red socks this afternoon. Arsenal have a goal kick. Pat Nevin.
Yeah, keep on looking around, see if there are any particular tactical changes. Didn't expect much or anything indeed from Newcastle, and I don't think there is. But Arsenal, you know, certainly if you're playing with a 10 and an out-and-out 10, that's a player behind your centre forward, you've got to get him on the ball. He's got to be core to your player, and as he's not getting involved in the actual play too much. As I say, he's had those chances somehow, and there will be more space in the second half. There always is more space in the second half of any football match. It's whether he's still on the pitch when that actually opens up. But eventually, if Arsenal don't score soon, they'll probably start thinking making changes.
Raya gave himself a heavy touch. That meant his second ball out of the box was rushed and hurried, and Newcastle tried to capitalise on that. They couldn't. Arsenal in possession with Jurrien Timber. The Gunners right to left in this second half, attacking their away fans up in the gods on our left hand side. Newcastle heading towards the Gallagher end, so they are left to right in this second half. The clouds have parted, predominantly blue skies now, faint shadows cast in a four-way direction by the floodlights shining down on the immaculate turf. We've got a great vantage point. We're only 15 yards or so away from Eddie Howe and Mikel Arteta, who of course have their backs turned to us, facing the pitch, both with slight quilted bomber jackets on. It's a little cool, although looking at the fans, you wouldn't know that in this part of the world, that the temperatures drop slightly. They've all got their black and white replica shirts on, and it's just t-shirts at best for the Geordie faithful. Arsenal from the right hand side. Timber couldn't get a steal on the corner of the penalty area, lays it back. Here's Zubimendi. Rice takes a touch back out towards the far side before looking infield again, just strokes it across to Gabriel. Let's have a look what he's got in the second half in his battle with Nick Voltemada. Those two had a few words in the first half. Ball played back to Gabriel. Arsenal enjoying a little bit more steadied possession, not hurrying it perhaps as much as they did in the first half with that attacking intent. They're choosing to be patient and take their time. Here's Calafiori, Gabriel, and now Saliba with his first couple of touches. The 24-year-old will be 29 when his new contract ends, if it isn't extended again. But Arsenal priming him ready for his best years in a red and white shirt. He has to step in ahead of Nick Voltemada there midway inside the Newcastle half, and he does. Boos come because Newcastle haven't touched the ball for a while, so the Magpies trying to help their players by putting off the opponents. Here's Zubimendi, wanted to get it to the left, but just indicated to Calafiori that ball was never on. Trossard turns it round the corner to the Italian of Riccardo Calafiori. Then it's swung into the box. Gyökeres tried to get ahead, and he's won himself a corner for him, and Arsenal 5 minutes into this second half.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. I was going to see what's changed about the tactics. Well, one of the tactics is the first half is Newcastle just pressed and pressed and pressed. They've not done that now. They went to 4-5-1 when they've lost the ball and said to Arsenal, break us down. We'll play in the break a little bit more. I'm slightly surprised at that because it was working so well for Newcastle, but as I said, why give Arsenal a hand? You know, play deep, leave very little space, and you've got some pace to break with.
Declan Rice then with this corner, near side the left for Arsenal. Everybody back for Arsenal, everybody of consistent height is inside the 6-yard box really, and it goes from Rice. Voltemada missed his header, loose ball poked away by Botman up towards the centre circle, where David Raya's inside the Newcastle half in the middle of the pitch, sends it long. It's goalkeeper to goalkeeper. Nick Pope, I think, encouraged to shoot there with David Raya so far off his line.
Do you know what? that is not the daftest shout I've ever heard in my life there, because Raya was so far off, and goalkeepers these days, they can easily hit it the length of the pitch with maybe only one bounce, so it might have been a temptation there.
Back with Nick Pope, ball to feet this time, left-footed, long over towards the halfway line. Newcastle 1, Arsenal 0, 7 minutes gone in the second half. The first 45 minutes absolutely flew by. Newcastle will be heading towards a much-needed win as it stands, having scored a goal as well, just their second at home this season. Both of them have come from Nick Voltemade, and both of them with his head, but he's more than that, we're told.
He is more than that, I can see, but what I've seen today, his hold-up play is fantastic. I think, oddly enough, and he's replacing Isak, and by the way, that roar, it's only a throw-in from Newcastle in case you're panicking. But you look at Isak's going, for all the brilliance of Isak, was he the hardest working, most battling player you've ever seen? Not necessarily. Fans will love this new man.
Newcastle threw it into the penalty area. It was a mistake from Declan Rice which gave him the throw in towards Voltemade, who tried to hold it up. Bruno Guimaraes was then weak on the pass back. Arsenal try and get down the right hand side. They can't. Newcastle have cut that one out, so Nick Pope now will go long down the middle. That's another goalkeeper to goalkeeper. That's what he should have tried a few moments ago.
Do you know, it's quite noticeable. When Arsenal break, you think, right, okay, use your pace, and then you realise you've not got the pace to outrun that Newcastle back line. And you think of Saka as being very, very quick, you know, but Gyökeres isn't lightning quick. He's okay, but he's not lightning quick. Eze is pure skill as opposed to pure pace. And in a way, Newcastle are enjoying the fact that they're not going to be outrun very often.
Byrne just making sure he controls and then sends that out for a throw-in on the far side. Just got time to mention both teams this afternoon wearing black armbands in memory of Billy Weigert, the young player who was tragically killed when suffering a brain injury in a game for Chichester away at Wingate. Collided with advertising hoarding, blows the ball into the penalty area left hand side. Calafiori and Raya see that away themselves from their own 18-yard box. Weigert reflected and remembered by Mikel Arteta ahead of the game. It has prompted an FA review into advertising hoardings and perimeters, particularly in the non-league, the National League. Here's Declan Rice for Arsenal trying to get them level. Trossard on the left-hand side. He's put the cross in for Eze, leaning back on the volley, trying to hook his boot round the ball, and over the bar it goes. It's still 1-0 Newcastle.
Same position for Eze again. He keeps on getting into that 10 position, but he has to take it very, very quickly on the volley. He's got the technique to be able to do that, but it was slightly behind him. And yes, may I add my commiserations to the family. The young player died. Yes, all leagues have to look at that. I look at some of the pitches in the Premier League, and the way that the pitch falls away into the advertising hoardings, even in the Premier League, I've said for many years there's an accident waiting to happen there. So something that really has to be considered.
Certainly is, and I'm sure they will complete a thorough investigation into that. And players' safety and welfare is paramount. I remember a few years ago, Macaulay South and Wales of Stockport County collided with an advertising board and picked up concussion from that as well. It's can be dangerous as Arsenal are going to go into the book here. Yellow card shown for the foul on Livramento to Riccardo Calafiori, and that's the first one of the afternoon. The referee has tried to let it flow as best he can, but when Livramento was hauled down there, similar to what you'd have seen in the Women's World Cup final yesterday, which England beat Canada on, Calafiori is yellow carded.
Yeah, he's yellow carded. There's nothing vicious about it at all. He just knows he's got himself out in a really bad, total imbalance of his position there, so leaves his leg out, takes the player out. Cynical, yellow card, understandable. I think the referee is desperate not to give out cards today because he wants the game to flow, but I don't think he had a choice there.
So free kick Newcastle, just past the midway point of the Arsenal half, on this near right hand side of theirs. Tonali and Murphy over it. Tonali will seem to be the sole taker of it though, raises a left arm in the air, right footed. No, he strokes it just with his back heel into Murphy, who whips it in. The heads go up and it's away this time from Arsenal. I think it was Gabriel's head that saw it away. It's gone over towards the far side. Now Gordon will take on Saka. They had a great tussle between the pair in the first half. To the corner of the box for Joe Linton. Little sidestep, then the low shot driven in past the crowd of players. It didn't get a touch. It goes behind for a goal kick. Maybe if it had got a touch, that could have been 2-0 Newcastle.
I think it would have been there. It does really well. They always tell us a player wide in those sort of areas at an angle, smash it hard toward the back post. You never know, A, it could go in, but B, it could hit off a defender or an attacker and cause all sorts of problems. Very unlucky there. Great play by Joe Linton.
I think he didn't hit that as cleanly as he wanted to. It was bending away from goal. I think he was drilling that and just didn't get what he wanted on it. 57 minutes played, 1-0 Newcastle.
It still asks the question, doesn't it? Defenders hate that. Last thing you want is a ball zipping across at that sort of pace there. Once again, Newcastle a little bit more up for it now. They've started quietly in the second half, but they're moving on to it a little bit more now. I'm just intrigued to see what happens eventually with Mikel Arteta. I keep on looking down at him. Eventually he's going to have to get somebody on here who can create something for him, but you can't create unless you get space and the ball in dangerous areas. And at the moment, this has not happened regularly enough in this second half, or the second part of the first half.
Other options available to Mikel Arteta: Ben White, Martin Odegaard, Martinelli, Norgard, Marino, Lewis Skelly and Max Dowman, the young 15-year-old available to Mikel Arteta. Emerges from his dugout, grey trousers on, puts his hands in his quilted black coat, gets cut off at the waist and then folds his arms underneath his armpits and watches on. Eddie Howe looking pretty relaxed on the edge of his technical area for now. It is Newcastle 1, Arsenal 0. 13 minutes gone in the second half. Here's Calafiori, 5 Sports Extra, live from St James's Park on the BBC World Service as well. Here's Calafiori, left-hand touchline, 20 yards from the Newcastle byline. Gabriel back to Calafiori with his brown hair tied back in a miniature ponytail. Now Declan Rice strides forward over towards the right-hand side, lays it over for Timber. Timber gives it a Saka, 2 on him in the form of Byrne and Gordon. That allows Timber to come back in field though. Eza with a little sidestep, lays it on the edge of the D, comes to Zubimendi, flicks it up right-footed, header down, Pope claws at it. It was Timber's header behind for a corner through the hands of Nick Pope as gain. Mikel Arteta slaps his hands round the back of his neck and grimaces, his side close to an equaliser if it wasn't for the fingertips of Nick Pope once more.
Yeah, I mean, Pope's been absolutely brilliant. Probably man of the match just now there, but the little dink ball through there was a piece of absolute genius outside of the boot. Fantastic. I think it was Zubimendi who played it, but Eze now getting a little bit more space as well.
Here he is on the left corner of the penalty area. Now Zubimendi, right-footed, curling ball in. One header from Arsenal. Someone goes down in the box, then Timber on the half volley gets his laces on that and sends it into the Leesy's end. Shot over the bar, Newcastle goal kick. Arsenal chances fall away again.
Yeah, they're complaining. Trossard shouting and ball in there. He thinks there's a penalty kick, thinks his shirt was pulled. Referees having absolutely none of it. He feels as if he's seen it and thinks Trossard throws himself to the floor. I'm tempted to go along with the referee once again. But going back to Pope, Pope's been absolutely brilliant. Absolutely phenomenal in this game. Just that one moment where he could have given away a penalty kick, but he didn't. And in the end, he's beaten before once as well by the shot by Trossard onto the post. But apart from that, he's kept Newcastle in this game.
Mikel Arteta's just had a word in the ear of Anthony Taylor, the 4th official on the edge of the pitch here. Calafiori inside his own box, ball given to him by David Raya. Now he sends it up towards the halfway line. Malik Thiaw marshals that brilliantly. I'll tell you what, he's read a lot right today as Malik Thiaw, Newcastle's new number 12, the just over £34 million signing from AC Milan. Got his first start last weekend, starts again today, and he's impressed in that back line. He played against Bradford as well. 3 starts in a row for Malik Thiaw.
You know, some players you watch and you think, okay, let's see if you can keep to the pace of this Premier League. Let's see if you're comfortable on the ball as a centre back. Are you reading? Are you panicking? He's getting ticks everywhere at the moment. He has been very, very good in this game. I'm watching him just now. He's centre back, but he's taking Trossard all the way into the midfield there. He's comfortable going out his back line as well.
Saka again in a close combat with Anthony Gordon.
He doesn't want that though. He wants to be against Dan Burn. And he's not getting there because Gordon's doing the job on him.
Yeah, Gordon's the first line of defence, and that's as far as Saka's getting for now. Here's Saliba, right-hand side of the centre circle. Arsenal trailing this one by a 1-0. Now it is Saka up against Burn and gets the cross in. Calafiori just stabs it down, so it's under a little bit more Arsenal control. Out of the box though, Declan Rice left of centre. Now Eze on the right hand side has a look over to the touchline, nowhere to go. Trossard cushions it into the path of Gyökeres, but Newcastle's defence stands resilient once again, and they still lead by a 1-0. All of a sudden Mikel Arteta's got 3 coaches in his ear, all raced out of the dugout to help him and give him some advice. Jason Tindall, Eddie Howe's number 2, he's talking to him in a lot more calmed manner.
But this is now looking like a game that looks like Arsenal's type of game. They're getting plenty of possession, they're getting it around about the 18-yard line, they're getting little 1-2s, and they only need to get who once. Eze get more involved in the game. This looks like, to me, a game that now would suit Odegaard. Wouldn't have done so before, but it does now.
Past the hour mark, it is an important game this for Arsenal, not only in the context of the competitive nature with Newcastle and having lost 3 of 4 games last season, but particularly having watched Liverpool drop points yesterday against Crystal Palace in the Premier League. This is their chance to close the gap, and right now they're not.
They're not. A lot of people are feeling that, this is the chance, it's really important this early on. Yes, it is important, but you know what? Teams are going to beat teams in this league. There's a lot of decent teams. You can't have an off day. Top of the league against bottom of the league. If you have a bad day, the bottom of the league team can still win.
Well, Newcastle got a bit careless in defence there, a little bit too casual. Alex Yao just steps in front of Nick Pope. Arsenal have a throw in. Arsenal will be 5 points still behind Liverpool. Newcastle would go a place behind Arsenal up to 8th. 9 points from their opening 6 games. They started this 4 points worse off than after 5 games in the Premier League this time last year. Saka turns it round the corner, away by Sven Botman, before Eze could have a look at goal. Now Declan Rice. Arsenal certainly creeping up their possession stats here and certainly keeping Newcastle in their own half. Over towards the far right hand side, Jurrien Timber tries to keep it in on the touchline. Newcastle take it back momentarily through Joe Linton, but as he passes it down the touchline, Arsenal get it back. Now Eze with a change of pace. Here is Saka, edge of the D, can't get it out of his feet, can't find a fellow teammate, and Newcastle come away. And down the middle, Murphy might be through. Racing back is Rice, but here's Murphy left of the penalty area. It deflects behind off the boot of a recovering Declan Rice, and behind for a Newcastle corner.
Classic sucker punch, rope-a-dope. You get really, really deep. They're under all sorts of pressure, but they know that they can break with some pace. Yes, in the end, it's Murphy who's quick enough himself. He gets away, gets the shot on target. Well done, Declan Rice, sticking with him. I bet they wish it was Anthony Gordon that had been 1-on-1 there, because he's the man that they couldn't catch. We're going to start seeing some changes now.
Tino Libramento's just had a word from the management staff of Newcastle as well. See what those changes bring in a moment. Newcastle corner, Tonali takes in, swinging near post, volleyed away before it even gets near a black and white shirt by Victor Gyökeres. Newcastle beat first to the ball with Anthony Gordon. Sent forward, player goes down, pulled down on the edge of the box. It's Dan Burn, but referee Jared Gillett unmoved, and nothing given on the Newcastle defender playing as a centre forward in that moment. And Arsenal see it away. Newcastle hook it back towards the Arsenal penalty area. A little bit scrappy from both teams. Now the referee spotted something, and it's Gabriel at the thick of the action as well, and Dan Burns just having a word with Jarrett Gillett as he jogged past him. 1-0 Newcastle.
Gabriel saying he get kicked here. I'm not convinced he did. I think Dan Burns just going into a challenge there. Dan Burns was actually hauled over. You were absolutely right in the commentary there. He was hauled over by Calafiori. So slight surprise there that nothing was given in that one. But this is maybe a bit of a surprise.
Anthony Gordon is replaced. In his first start in 3 Premier League games, he won't see out the full 90 minutes. Anthony Elanga and Will Osula also coming on, so there's certainly pace there in Elanga for Arsenal's defence to be worried about. Kieran Trippier comes on for Anthony Gordon. It's Nick Voltemade who will make way for Will Osula, who grabbed a couple in midweek in that win over Bradford. But listen to the noise for their new tall striker. I amused myself maybe reading too hard in Eddie Howe's press conference. Eddie Howe was asked to describe how Nick Voltemade compares to other Newcastle number 9s. And Eddie Howe pointed out how he compares to Callum Wilson. He left out a certain Alexander Isak in his comparison.
Yeah, I mean, he's a very different type of player. I mean, he's held it well. They're going to back 5 now, Newcastle, as if to say, we're going to try and hold on for what there is. What we've got just now, it's dangerous play, it has to be said, but they're under a lot of pressure with a back 4. So might as well make it a back 5. You know that Mikel Arteta's going to start making some changes as well just now, so it's a battle on. Asula's got a job to do up front. He'll be up front mostly on his own, but he's got Anthony Elanga there to use his pace in the break, and that's what it's all about. Pace on the break for Newcastle just now. You've got a back 5, lump it long and chase it.
So to confirm, Gordon, Murphy and Voltemade off, Elanga, Asula and Trippier on. Kieran Trippier, who turned 35 just 9 days ago, missed both Premier League games with Arsenal last season, the home leg through a hamstring injury. His first action was to head it back to Nick Pope. The ball now inside the Arsenal half. Newcastle 1, Arsenal 0 midway through this second half. Eze to Saka in the centre circle. Gyökeres and Botman both rise for the header. It's Botman who wins it. Ball down on the deck with Tino Livramento. Here's Joe Linton inside the centre circle, just to the left-hand side of it rather. Martinelli and Mikel Merino are about to come on for Mikel Arteta's side. Arsenal in possession, trailing by a 0-0, and they're on the halfway line with Gabriel, who's known he's been in a few contests this afternoon. Here's Calafiori, the only man booked on the field for his yellow card for his foul on Anthony Gordon, who's now departed, as well as that triple substitution of Eddie Howe a moment ago. 5 Sports Extra live from St James's Park. On 5 Live right now, it's the Ryder Cup, day 3 of the action. It's the singles, the head-to-heads. Victor Hovland neck injury means he won't play his singles match. That game is halved. Here's Saka, edge of the penalty area, deflects into the path of Gyökeres. Saka took his shot from the corner. Gyökeres couldn't control. Newcastle haven't taken any chances and seen it behind for a corner.
Well, slight panic in there, and you can tell. I asked the question in the first half, can Newcastle keep up that pace for the entirety of the game? It was slightly rhetorical. I didn't really think they would manage it. They haven't. There are a lot of tired players out there just now, and you can see that they're just hanging on a little bit just now. That's no surprise. They've given everything they possibly could up until this point in time. I mean, watching what be intrigued to see what happens now. Merino coming on, Calafiori coming off, so they might go a very different looking back line there.
Yeah, well,
they might go to a back 3.
Yeah, they're going to change it, aren't they? Because that's 2 attacking players for a defender and an attacker. Bukayo Saka also replaced, obviously managing his minutes as he returns back from injury. The Arsenal right forward, so corner to Arsenal, far side, which Declan Rice will take. Outswinging delivery expected from Arsenal's number 41. He bends it in towards the near post. It's poor. Beat the first man, he's always the target. He can't. A diving header sees that now out for an Arsenal throw in on the far side.
The question I asked at half time, Arsenal's set pieces aren't working, certainly the corner kicks. Should they adapt them a little bit? You're a very specific problem you've got against these top players in Newcastle. They haven't done. However, here's the long throw
from Declan Rice in towards Merino. Gyökeres is making a nuisance of himself, and on the turn sends in the shot that goes wide via a deflection, and Arsenal have a corner.
There's a completely different game now. I mean, certainly Arsenal looked the more likely team to score just now. They've got much more of the ball. All the possession is generally in that Newcastle half. They're defending stoutly, not quite desperately yet, but if they keep on hanging that far back, they'll get chances. Arsenal will get chances.
Declan Rice corner, near side the left, raises a left arm in the air. Now the players charge towards the 6-yard box. It's right under Nick Pope, and he's able to catch it. First time of asking, and dives down to the floor.
I'm watching Elanga run out as if they're going to throw it to him quickly. No chance. Absolutely not a hope.
The referee's telling Nick Pope he was counting down there from 5 to 1, and Nick Pope had to release that ball from his hands before the referee had got to 0. I think he did just about manage that, otherwise it'd have been blown for an Arsenal corner again. Pope smacks that one away from his penalty area, gets a lot under that, a lot of height, not so much direction. And now Livramento is caught late. That'll be a Newcastle free kick. They will take their time with this and just cool down that Arsenal pressure that's built in the last 5-10 minutes or so.
I think Livramento's got a real fright there. He was completely off balance when he landed. I mean, you land off balance like that on your straightened leg, that can be very dangerous. You can do anything to your knee, medial, lateral, ACLs, everything. So you can tell he got a little bit of a fright there, but he's got up and he's got on again. That was a definite free kick. He was a little bit worried when he went down, but he looks like he'll be okay.
Only for the second time this season have Newcastle scored first in a Premier League match. They won the other 1-0 here against Wolves. They are leading 1-0 here against Arsenal. The man who scored the goal that day, Nick Woltemade. The man who scored the goal today, Nick Woltemade. Free kick to Newcastle, which Pope sends spiralling towards the Arsenal penalty area. Tonali with his header under it. Now Byrne. Couple of headers from him. Eza flicks it over his shoulder and up towards the halfway line, where Gyökeres and Botman once again body to body. And now the ball fired up towards Elanga with his chest down. Here's Will Osula, takes a touch to his left hand side. Saliba recovers well enough, and that's away from Arsenal.
They've got a real problem here. If they can get the ball towards Livramento, and Livramento has gone down. Just what I was saying before, keep an eye on a player who has that sort of landing. If Arsenal could have got the ball up the right hand side, they had a free run at the defence. The ball's gone out. I think they've got a little bit lucky there. It's just the way that Livramento's gone down. As a player, you know that feeling. It's a horrible, horrible thing to overextend. It doesn't look that bad, does it, when he goes down? But as a player, you think, you know how dangerous that can be.
And really crucial to Newcastle in that back line, particularly on the right hand side where he's been playing. Was originally on the left hand side when he first came here. Now his third season at the club. Today's his 50th Premier League start for Newcastle. It's whether he'll get to the end of his 50th Premier League start.
Yeah, we're just having a look at it just now, and he's landed on his right foot,
leg, isn't it?
And because he's off balance and he's straight, you can overextend. He didn't actually overextend, but it's one of those ones you can, knee ligaments, even a cartilage. That's the classic way you damage a cartilage. So it's one of those ones. You've already made how many 3 substitutions so far. I mean, there's enough players on there. I mean, you can go back to a back 4 if you have to bring Livramento off. But that's not what Eddie Howe needs just now.
Neil Crath has been warming up. It's whether they make the call on the Swede to come on, perhaps. Kieran Trippier's just jogged over to have a word with Eddie Howe. Livramento still receiving treatment. A few of his Newcastle teammates around him a little bit concerned, the likes of Joe Linton, Tonali and Bruno Guimaraes.
Right, I might be wrong, but I'd be absolutely stunned if you leave him on the pitch.
But you wouldn't risk it, would you?
No, why would you? You can't take attention. You've got a player that you can bring on who plays in that position. Craft, you've got your back 5, you've got it solid. You can't take a chance. Well, decision has been made. He's going to come off. It's a real shame, because I do think Livramento has been absolutely brilliant since he broke into the team, or the teams, because I do include England with that.
Yeah, Stretcher is coming on to the field here, which is of great concern to Tino Livramento. Just remember the England team is announced on Friday. 5 Live will bring that to you. There'll be interviews and press conferences with Thomas Tuchel, the England manager in the World Cup year next summer. America, Canada and Mexico host the revamped 2018 World Cup. The Newcastle fans here are singing the name of their number 21 in Tino Livramento. Jamal Lascelles is ready to come on here. This week in the Champions League, Newcastle go to Belgium to take on Union Saint-Gilloise. They will probably now be without Tino Livramento, but I'm sure Eddie Howe will be speaking to Gary Flintoff after the game, and you'll maybe get the latest on that. Arsenal at home to Olympiacos. 5 Live is in Istanbul on Tuesday for Galatasaray against Liverpool. Then on Wednesday, the south of France, Monaco, where Manchester City are the visitors. Tino Livramento is put onto the stretcher, his hands clasped on his face, which is usually a telling sign of how upset a player is and how serious an injury is, Pat Nevin.
Yeah, and, I mean, you were doing the commentary and I was immediately saying to you, I don't like that. I mean, it's the game played on. I was really worried. When he got up and jogged on again, if you've never had an injury like that, you don't know how serious it could be, because you've never been through it. Adrenaline's coursing through your body. So you get up, and he's probably around about 10 yards and it's gone again. I just hope it's something small, like a little bit of a tear in his meniscus or something like that. But those ones, they can be ACLs and things like that. Hope not. Let's hope not.
We will bring you the latest as we can. Keep an eye on the Newcastle Index on the BBC Sport website and app as well. We have 13 minutes left of normal time here. Newcastle 1, Arsenal 0, 5 Sports Extra and BBC World Service. Also available on the BBC Sounds app this afternoon and the BBC Sport website and app, so you can take us with you on 5 Live right now. Final day of the Ryder Cup with Mark Chapman and the team at Bethpage Black in New York, where Europe had a overnight lead that was very healthy, and it's whether they can keep on to that. Here's Martinelli for Arsenal, trying to get them on a healthy side of a scoreline. Now currently 1-0 down. Trossard, it was kept in play by Zubimendi. Trossard's ball in field from the left hand side is poor, and Osuna is trying to race onto it. David Raya is there first, and he sends it back towards the Newcastle penalty area. Terrible touch from Mikel Merino, and that's just given Newcastle a throw on this near side. Their right, the black and white stripes from left to right in this second half, and leading by a goal to 0.
Yeah, and just watching the way that Arsenal lining up now, they've got the 2 centres back there, obviously have to keep an eye on Asula, but they're pushing forward. They've got Zubimendi having to cover in at left back quite a lot of the time. Yeah, he can do it, but he's against Elanga. I mean, I'm backing Elanga there for pure pace. If he gets a 1-on-1 there, and Zubimendi's drafted back into that left back area.
Highlights tonight, match of the day. BBC One, Gabby Logan in the chair from 10:30. Highlights of this game, and you can make your own mind up about the Victor Gyökeres penalty. No penalty that VAR overturned. You can watch Nick Voltemada's brilliant header, saw a replay of that a moment ago, unmarked, 6-yard box, leapt high. I mean, he's already tall enough, but out of jump into that, and he's over 7 foot, isn't he really? And a header down into the bottom left hand corner. Also highlights of Aston Villa's big win at home to Fulham today, 3-1.
We're talking about that header, the technical proficiency of the header. How many players do you see heading the ball and it's almost bouncing off their head? That was like a picture about exactly what a header should be like to get power on it.
Lascelles scoops it up, and Elanga won't get there first. Gabriel sees it out. WSL highlights from 11:20 on BBC One tonight. Wins for Brighton, for Spurs, Manchester United at Liverpool, Manchester City and Chelsea today. Those highlights 11:20, 11:50 on BBC Two. You'll get the highlights of the final day of the Ryder Cup, and hopefully, I think we're allowed to say this, see some European celebrations.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen some phenomenal golf yesterday anyway, I can tell you that for sure. Amazing golf. Justin Rose particularly.
There's a great chip from John Rahm as well, wasn't there, at one point? Seen the highlights of that. And that's on 5 Live right now for you. You can flick between us on the BBC Sounds app. You can rewind, so if you missed Nick Voltemada's goal 35 minutes into this game, so round about 5:05, you'll be able to find that on the BBC Sounds app as well. Big header from Sven Botman, takes it from inside the Newcastle, bounces all the way back to where it came from, i.e. the Arsenal goalkeeper David Raya, but it was the power on that header from Sven Botman.
Yeah, there's been a few physical challenges and headers that we've been impressed with today. So one of the things that just came across my mind there was, you look at the 2 new strikers that are playing today, and you go for the Newcastle one with his performance today. I certainly think Voltemada had done a lot more in Gyökeres in this game.
Well, Steve Crossman was talking about it in the build-up, wasn't it? It was one of the questions he asked, was Victor Gyökeres performing in big games, and we compared that to the criticism that goes against Erling Haaland of this new type, at this this number 9 striker that's now so popular, as Nick Pope sidesteps Victor Gyökeres there and sells him a little dummy, and then sends the ball up to the halfway line, but Arsenal have a free kick. But you're in the comparison of the tall strikers and who can perform in the big games, well, Nick Voltemada stepped up.
Yeah, he has.
Eza through to Gyökeres though, takes one shot and stalls, the second one wide of the right hand post and behind for a goal kick. Newcastle's defence was a little exposed there. Sven Botman's down on the floor as the ball ran through to Eza, Gyökeres had timed his run. His first shot blocked off by Botman. His second one skewed wide of the right-hand post. Still Newcastle 1, Arsenal 0.
You know, there's not a great deal wrong with the first one. It's just a great tackle, phenomenal tackle. However, the second one, he slips and he slides as he tries to hit it. And by doing that, you know, you can't do it. If you're a striker in the box, you're keeping your feet. You get the hit away, you get it on target. He slipped and I think kicked it off his own feet, gone over the crossbar, and just at that moment in time, that was I was going to say it's a real chance. It's only half a chance. Sometimes you only get half a chance in the Premier League.
Martin replaced Martin. Zubimendi off, Ødegaard on for Mikel Arteta, who makes his fourth roll of the dice this afternoon. Ødegaard coming back from a shoulder injury. Oh, the ball's going to bounce awkward here, and Elanga's going to make Gabriel's life a nightmare. The Arsenal defender did well there, and he turns towards his goalkeeper David Raya and says, "Where were you? I needed help there and you stayed on your goal line." Rice passes it back, and Elanga's on the charge to Raya again, who hurries it out towards the far side. He's done well there, the Spanish goalkeeper. Now Bernie's tight on that far side. Thought he'd won the ball fairly. He hadn't done so, and the foul is given in Arsenal's favour, and a yellow card to Joe Linton as well.
Well, it's a bear pit in here. When that happens, you get a few tackles, you're flying in from the Newcastle players. It lifts the fans. They in turn lift the players back again. And Joe Linton, you know, now and again you have to do it. You have to put a tackle in, you have to slow the opposition as they're breaking away. But it just shows you that fight's there. They can break now and again. And Joe Linton, maybe a little bit, has to be careful there. He got booked and then applauded the referee. There's many a referee that doesn't take kindly to that.
It was Jurrien Timber that was fouled by Joe Linton. Arsenal into the Newcastle half. They in their red shirt to the white sleeves, white shorts and red socks, are right to left in this second half. A very quiet Arsenal crowd. Might get a noisy now because Declan Rice puts it in from the left-hand side. Malik Chow's there, blocks it, behind for a corner.
Is that possibly the first time you've seen Declan Rice breaking into the box from deep in this entire game? And we know how brilliant he is. And it's the difficult trick that Mikel Arteta has to figure out. He wants Eze on the pitch, he wants Ødegaard on the pitch, he wants all these players on the pitch. But if you do that, you almost ask Declan not to go forward.
Short corner, Eze pokes it onto Ødegaard. Now Rice, left-footed, the header's Gladstone and in! And Arsenal have their equaliser. The Gladstone header into the far right-hand corner. And it's Mikel Merino, the substitute, who's got it. His first goal for Arsenal this season. It didn't need a big touch, but it was enough to send it past a flat-footed Nick Pope. And it is Newcastle United 1, Arsenal 1.
Right. I moaned on about this the entire first half. Why are Arsenal keeping on playing the same corner kick? Why are you not adapting it? Why you not play a short one? So you ask a different question. They were getting nothing out of that corner kick. That is the first short one they've taken, and they've scored from it. So similar to exactly what Newcastle did in the first half.
The former Newcastle player, he had a season here 7 years ago. He only scored one goal in that time, and that was here against Crystal Palace. Now he's done it for Arsenal and got them level. But here come a resurgent Newcastle. Elanga, right at the penalty area, takes the shot. Huge appeals for handball against Gabriel, who was sliding in. Nothing given for now. VAR can check it. Elanga had the space on the right-hand side. He was closed down quickly. Trippier, 1-1 now with 5 minutes to go. Bruno Guimaraes just away from the right corner of the penalty area. Trippier down the line. Elanga's cross in. Byrne controls it, then flicks it over the goalkeeper, headed on by Saliba. Asula will chase out towards the far side, and he'll hold off Saliba to win Newcastle a throw-in.
And they will check this for a penalty kick. Now my first thought was yes, handball, but it hits the player first.
His hands up.
And
Gabriel's
as I watched
hands
it
up
again, hey, I can't second guess this referee, but it's hit his foot. It's hit the defender's foot and gone up in his own hand.
So he slid in, Gabriel, with Elanga coming in, and VAR is going to check this now. It's a big call, and it comes to the question of natural position or not. Gabriel's arm is up.
But did it hit the player's foot, the defender's foot, and go up off his own body onto the hand? To be honest, in a normal world, I'm giving a penalty kick there.
Is it the double deflection? Is it Elanga off Gabriel and then up onto Gabriel's arm? He's low to the floor, but his right arm is raised, Pat Nevin.
It's so technical. We don't want technical. If your hand's out in an unnatural position, it hits it very clearly, you think it should be a penalty kick. And as I suspected, because it's hit the foot and gone up, he's going to have a real, long, close look at it.
Not for the second time, not for the first time in this game.
And by the way, he's not going to look at the video.
I think Jason Tyndall's going in the book. He comes over, the referee, to this near side to put Jason Tyndall for his remonstrations, but not for the first time in this game. A deflection or a kick first against another player has changed a VAR decision.
That is very, very difficult.
Or rather brought VAR into action.
It is so hard because these are very, very technical decisions that, because you've got VAR, you pour over it for 10 minutes, then you get the rule book out for another 10 minutes and check what it is. And by the way, have a look at the updates from this month. It is so tight that they could have both gone either ways, those two penalty shouts.
Match of the day 2 tonight, 10:30 BBC One. Make your own mind up there. Newcastle have a throw in level with the left corner of the penalty area over on the far side. Dan Burn steps up to the touchline, launches it in. It's Gabriel climbing highest to head it away, and then as Martinelli tries to break, he is fouled. Yellow card given, and Newcastle have Dan Burn in the book.
Yeah, Dan Burn is one of those players where you can't always pick out everybody, but you can always pick out Dan Burn. He just sometimes looks like a Tasmanian devil when he's running about in the middle of the area there. You think he's your left back, but sometimes he's centre forward, sometimes he's left wing. On that occasion he was flying back, and from a Newcastle perspective probably did the right thing.
Whilst that aftermath of the VAR check and the confirmation was going on, Miles Lewis-Skelly has come on for the Gunners, replacing Leandro Trossard. 1-1 then into the final 90 seconds of the 90 minutes here at St James's Park.
I think there may be a few minutes. I think there may be a few minutes added. Certainly the injury earlier on, there's no doubt that because he had a very long time that Livramento was down, that's going to add 6, 7, 8 minutes on. So we've got plenty of football left.
Don't want it to end. We didn't want half time to come. I don't think we'll want the second half to end either. As we approach the final minute, Mikel Arteta passionately shouting at his assistant coaching staff to help him out on the touchline. 1-1. Baltimore in the first half with a header, and then Arsenal equalised through Marino. Same end, different style of header. Nick Pope, I think, actually thought he was going wide of his right-hand post. It's the base of the post and rolls in after that.
Classic one. It's not the fashion now to put a player on the post, and it's amazing how many goals are going in there at the moment.
Fashions are changing all the time. We go long from kickoffs now. We've got big number 9s back in business.
They're just style things.
Set pieces important.
Yeah, they are purely style things. But most defenders would say, I'd rather have a player on the post. Most goalkeepers would say, I can't cover the entirety of the goal, put a player on the post. But what is no surprise at all is right at the start, the fact that he was arguing that Newcastle should take short corner kicks. They weren't getting anything out of them. They did. Arsenal, more so, they did. And both got goals from short corner kicks.
Asula tumbles. He'd got round his man on the far side, heading towards the penalty area, and the referee is unmoved. And I said, we want this to continue. Well, 8 more minutes have been shown. Newcastle 1, Arsenal 1. We're into 8 minutes of added time. Asula down, no free kick. Harvey Barnes is coming on in a second as well to add to that attacking emphasis of Newcastle United.
And what I can underline here, because Newcastle were defending a lot, they went to a back 5. You thought they were hanging on. They've lost a goal. They're not hanging on for a point. They want 3. They're going to go for it again just now. Hopefully 8 minutes of both teams really hitting each other.
I'd be pleased with the point because you haven't lost, but I don't think a point benefits either side.
No, it doesn't. It's the last thing it does. Every team above them and even below them will be thinking, yeah, stick here.
So who goes for broke? Who tries and snatches all 3 points? Arsenal more consistent in the second half as Newcastle have had their chances limited, but it was the black and white stripes that were very influential in the opening 45 minutes. Nick Pope's been a big saviour to the Magpies as well. Header down from Kieran Trippier. Miles Lewis-Skelly to the second ball. Now Ødegaard midway inside the Newcastle half. Arsenal from right to left in these closing stages. Here's Eze near side. Ødegaard again, nowhere to go as Newcastle's defence is set solid in a bank of 5 and a bank of 4 for now in the centre circle, as Arsenal have to work their way back towards the halfway line. Gabriel switches it from one side of the middle of the pitch to the other. Declan Rice, 1-1 the score. We've had 90 seconds of the 8 minutes added on. Here's Arsenal's number 8 in Martin Ødegaard. Lewis-Skelly looking forward but nowhere to go, just retreats 10 yards or so, gives the ball to Gabriel. Saliba, 5 Sports Extra in the World Service from St James's Park. The floodlights take increasing effect as the last of the daylight starts to fade. Gyökeres goes down, looked very soft, very reactionary to a touch that he had, and it's seen away. There's nothing that the referee's going to look second about that.
It'd be a big call to give a penalty for that. There might have been certainly some contact there, but nowhere near enough, and even his teammates didn't call for a penalty there.
Timber on the touchline right hand side, 10 yards from the byline, just I think via deflection gets it back to Declan Rice. Tonali was sliding in there. Chill starts to come around the northeast of England. Fans still with their replica shirts on. No one's putting their coat on in this part of town. They're too proud for that. Burn lets the ball go over him, and then Timber knocks it into Martinelli on the right of the penalty area. Byrne's now got to get a race back into the box to recover, which he does. Rice to Timber. Byrne will come back out to him. Rice, right-footed. The cross is good, but Pope reads it well and clutches it. Now tries to race to the edge of his penalty area. Bowling over arm. Elanga goes down. Asula will chase, and the referee's going to say free kick to Newcastle. Elanga was fouled. So free kick and no advantage in the end for the home side.
Slightly surprised the referee doesn't reach for his pocket there. And if he thinks that's a foul and it's off the ball, more often than not the referee's going to say that's a yellow card, but he doesn't seem to be reaching for his pocket.
Joe Linton off. He was on a booking. Harvey Barnes comes on. Harvey Barnes, who's on 49 Premier League goals. He's got 4.5 minutes to try and make that 50 for Newcastle this afternoon as the score is level at 1-1. This place will take off. If Newcastle score, it will be silenced if Arsenal can find a winner. Trippier with the free kick from the halfway line into the penalty area. Pulling of the shirt of Dan Burn is what the Newcastle fans are crying on for, as the header is sent in from the left-hand side of the D by Jamal Lascelles, caught by David Raya, and he's bowled out towards that far side to set Ødegaard on his way.
Don't you just love it? Both keepers get the ball, immediately bowl it out. They want to go for a win.
And it's Arsenal heading forward now on the left-hand side. Lewis-Skelly gets the ball from Declan Rice. Rice again. Ødegaard started it, wants to end it. Oh, he's put a lovely ball through for Lewis-Skelly. And the slide comes in from Malik Thiaw and gives Arsenal a corner. The angle was always against Lewis-Skelly on that left-hand side, but it would have had these Geordie fans worried.
You know, that's the ball that you see Saka doing, along with Ødegaard on the right-hand side time and again. Sometimes with the fullback going round on that right-hand side. Well, they've done it on the left-hand side there, but it's just about the first time they've got to the byline in this second half. Superb defending once again by Charles.
1-1 with little over 3 minutes of added time remaining. That is a penalty area that is well spread out. It goes right on top of Nick Pope, who punches out. Arriving is the shot from Martinelli. Hit it down into the ground, didn't get a clean connection. Hit one of the defenders, it's back out the box. Swung in by Arsenal from the right-hand side. Caught by Pope, who now himself goes to the edge of his box. Hits it low along the ground. It's a poor one. Trying to find Elanga. It's stopped by Lewis-Skelly. And now he gives it to Rice in space on the left-hand side. This is ending well, isn't it? Header from Lascelles. It's behind for an Arsenal corner on the far side. Ball swung in by Rice. Lascelles header, corner kick.
It would have been so sad if they've lost a goal at that. Pope plays it quickly, just trying to be positive. That it was cut out, and had they lost the game by trying to be ultra positive, it'd been a real shame for them.
So corner to Arsenal, far side, their right. Martin Ødegaard stands over it, raises an arm in the air, congested on the edge of the 6-yard box. Ødegaard, Pope tries to get there, he hasn't! Arsenal have found a winner! It's Gabriel! And David Raya races to join the party. Arsenal fans in the top end of the Leazes stand go berserk. Players swarm in the corner. Pope couldn't get there. Gabriel did. And the Arsenal defender, who's had a lot of pressure at him at the other end, races to the other and finds a header from a corner. And it's Newcastle 1, Arsenal 2.
Absolutely stunning. Now they've been the better team in the second half, but time and time again over the last season or two, Arsenal have managed to get a goal from a set piece. They never looked like doing it earlier in the game from a direct one. They had one from a short one earlier on in this half though, but the ball is brilliant. The blocks are exactly what they want, but it's all about the leap. You've got to get yourself up high there. There's enough power and enough height there, but remember there's a couple of big players that have gone off for Newcastle, but it's who wants it the most on that occasion, and on this occasion Gabriel. There must be about 7 players in a 2-yard space, but he still manages to get himself up there. Wow, what an ending to this game.
Players, coaching staff, they all ran towards Gabriel. The headlines this week about William Saliba, but a 27-year-old Brazilian might have won this game for Arsenal into the final minute of the 8 that was shown. A bit more to come for Newcastle to try and chase, given those hugely extravagant Arsenal celebrations, but who could blame them? It felt like a big game, knowing their record against Newcastle here, knowing their record against Newcastle last season. But hold on, because Barnes down the left-hand side is trying to get round Declan Rice, who marshals him brilliantly and will send the ball away. What a weekend of drama on 5 Live. Started with the Super League eliminators on Friday night. You've had the Ryder Cup all weekend with Europe's domination. We brought you Palace against Liverpool in the Saturday 3 o'clock with Palace's last-minute winner. And then today, Arsenal have done it here at Newcastle. Let's not forget the Women's World Cup as well.
Well, we've got to get this ball in the mixer. We've gone over the 98.
Trippier sends it in, direct down the middle, heads go up, it's a right angle in there. Now Gabriel heads it down, Tonali arrives. It is seen away by Mikel Merino and out for a Newcastle throw right by the corner flag on this near side. 8 minutes of added time was shown. We're into the 99th and this is it for Newcastle. Kieran Trippier with the ball in his hand for this throw-in is just told to wait a minute whilst the referee has a word with his VAR. They've checked that melee. Now Trippier's throw-in, flicked on by Byrne, and Eza sees it away. And the referee blows his full-time whistle. Arsenal have won it at the very end at St James's Park. A second-half turnaround for Mikel Arteta's side sees them take 3 points on Tyneside in the weekend. When Liverpool lost at Crystal Palace, the pressure was on Arsenal. And when Nick Voltemada gave Newcastle the lead in the first half, questions were asked. Arteta changed it at half-time. He put on Saliba. But the goals that have won it are from Mikel Merino, the substitute for the equaliser. And then Gabriel in stoppage time. 3 goals and 3 headers, of which Arsenal edge it, and it has finished. Newcastle United 1, Arsenal 2, Pat Nevin.
Oh, breathless, brilliant, phenomenal atmosphere, wonderful advert for the modern, the new Premier League. We've had a few seasons where, it's about control, it's about calmness, it's about running the game. We're seeing more and more games that are just go and attack each other, go and excite the fans, go and show us some heart and some almost old British style football. Well, isn't it brilliant to see? Isn't it brilliant to be part of? By the way, there's good quality technical stuff in there as well. But today, that was fantastic. And at the end of the game, I was thinking, if this was Liverpool, they would be scoring a late goal. They are the team that does that generally. Over a season, they do it time and time again at the last second, and that's what gets them over the line. Are Arsenal capable of that? Answer until 96 minutes, no. And then suddenly, with that infamous brilliant in-swinging free kick, put it in there, desperation for Gabriel to get on the end of it. Brilliant header, brilliant. And what's nice just now, have a look at the pitch right in front of us just now. The players have actually mingled a bit. Now there was a lot of fighting and battling there, but they kind of walked together around for a moment there. Now the Arsenal fans have stayed with their own, the Arsenal players have stayed at their own fans now. There's a real respect between the two sets of players that was a right good game of football. That was enjoyable, that was entertaining. That was top stuff.
Newcastle and St James's Park is emptying very quickly on 4 sides of the ground where the home fans sit, more and more grey seats visible. But if you look up to your top left hand corner at the